One Piece, Strengthening with Alcohol. Chapter 33, Eat or Fight. The sashimi handed over was crystal clear, without any decoration, but it gave people the feeling of shining like crystal glass. Even if you don't want to tell me your life experience, I will definitely be able to find out slowly. Zeph picked up the chopsticks and gently picked up a piece of sashimi from the plate. No seasonings used, just put it in your mouth. Suddenly, Zeph froze up, as if struck by lightning, motionless. Teacher. Seeing Zeph freeze, Jun bit his lip. Even if the body has a certain tolerance to poison, the poison will still have a certain effect. From the look of Zeph, something doesn't look good. How is the taste? Ling Bai held his chin with his hand, picked up a piece of chopsticks, and put it into his mouth. Suddenly, the two of them said in unison. This is so damn delicious. Swish. The eyes of Zeph and Ling Bai collided fiercely, and Jun could even see sparks. Bang bang bang. In the blink of an eye, their chopsticks were engaged in a fierce confrontation over the tattoo. Ling Bai, now you are the chef and I am the diner, how can you steal my things? Zeph said in a deep voice. Humph. I made all this stuff, why can't I eat it? Ling Bai was not timid at all. You've eaten a month's worth of food, and you haven't even spared the last thing. I'm hungry again, can't I? The two of them were quarreling with each other in words, and their chopsticks were already waving in waves. Aren't you exaggerating too much? Jun didn't believe in evil, so while the two of them were fighting fiercely, he took out his chopsticks and stabbed him in an instant, just like drawing a sword to chop. Put it in your mouth, it melts in your mouth, and a fresh and sweet taste flows down your throat, seeming to fill your soul. This is so damn delicious. Jun's eyes also changed. Peach Blossom smile. Using chopsticks as a knife, he took out the chopsticks several times in an instant and swept away most of the sashimi in a blink of an eye. Jun chewed gently in his mouth, with an expression of enjoyment on his face. Jun. You are so mean. Zephyr gritted his teeth, and his armament haki covered his chopsticks. With a very fast blow, Ling Bai's chopsticks were broken on the spot. He then used the chopsticks to push all the remaining sashimi into his small bowl. Damn it, old man, you are shameless. Ling Bai threw the broken chopsticks aside. Hee hee. Boy, don't you know how to use armament haki yet? It's okay, after eating your apprenticeship gift today, I will teach you well. Zephyr said proudly. Zeph was in a good mood because he could make Ling Bai lose face at his hands. After finishing the food in the bowl in a few bites, Zeph felt unsatisfied and knocked the bowl with chopsticks like a child. Hungry. 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 Zephyr had never eaten such delicious sashimi, which preserved the original flavor of the ingredients to the best state, and it seemed that sashimi was brought to the extreme in terms of taste and texture. Jun didn't care about his image at this time, and there was even a trace of drool hanging from the corner of his mouth. The two of them looked back and forth between Ling Bai and the remaining giant porcupine. Really? Is the food at the Navy headquarters so bad? Ling Bai said with a smile. He turned to heat the oil in a pan and took out some flour and other seasonings from under the cupboard. After a while of busy work, the aroma spread through the kitchen and out. The second dish is porcupine tempura, please taste it. The third dish is braised porcupine, please taste it. The fourth dish is soup, porcupine bone soup, please taste it. Outside the kitchen, on the deck. What a smell, it smells so good. I just smelled it, I was so intoxicated by it that I lost my mind. It seems to be coming from the kitchen, could it be? The smell in the kitchen was so fragrant that even on the vast sea, even the sea breeze could not blow it away, provoking everyone's sense of smell. The Marines grabbed the freshly caught ingredients in their hands, and went straight to the kitchen without even changing their wet clothes. What are you cooking? The chef had been obsessed with cooking for many years, and such a tempting taste made him uneasy. Everyone pushed open the kitchen door together and found that Zeph and Jun were wolfing down something, with no image at all, not like the usual superiors. Next dish. Zeph licked the plate clean with his tongue, and roared as if possessed. And Jun also held the chopsticks firmly in his hand, the sword energy turned into momentum, and the pink energy condensed to the extreme, ready to compete with Zeph. Such a scene, the Marine's jaws almost fell to the ground. Is this eating, or fighting? No, there is only this piece left. Ling Bai tossed the liver in his hand, quite speechless. What a bullshit general level, it's just like two starving ghosts reincarnated. What? Zeph stood up suddenly. He felt that his stomach was still empty. Looking at the chopping board, the giant porcupine fish that was huge before was left with no bones. Jun touched his bulging stomach and said aggrievedly, I haven't eaten enough yet. At this time, Zeph and Jun found that the navy who went to prepare the ingredients had returned. Hey! Zeph had a malicious smile on his face. Step by step, he walked towards the kitchen door. His terrifying expression like Shura scared many navy back. Did you catch something? Zeph smiled. But this smile was extremely scary in everyone's eyes. Yes, it is. Then bring it over. Zeph didn't say anything and just started grabbing. After 3 strokes, 5 divided by 2, he snatched up all the ingredients that were not easy for everyone to catch. Tired into a tall tower, he slowly carried him to Ling Bai's side. Shout loudly. The ingredients are here. Next dish. Then, Zeph sat back on his seat, picked up the bowls and chopsticks, his eyes were burning. This. The navy was stunned. How is this method of grabbing things different from that of pirates? At this time, Jun also came over. Major General, that's what we worked hard for. However, before the Marine had finished speaking, Jun slammed the kitchen door shut. Bang! The deafening sound stunned everyone. 6. From now on, no one is allowed to step into this room. Violators will be punished by military law. 0. After saying these words, the sound of Jun's footsteps walking in clearly reached everyone's eyes. 5. The navy outside looked at each other, dumbfounded. 8. For a long time, I couldn't come back to my senses. 3. Boy. 7. The chef also didn't know what happened, but Zeph and Jun's actions told him everything. 2. Ling Bai has conquered them with his dishes. 9. At this time, a navy man came over and patted the chef on the shoulder. 7. Brother, what are we going to eat for lunch? Chapter 34. Let's leave aside the struggling navy outside for now. Ling Bai looked at the ingredients that formed a tower in front of him and rolled his eyes. Do these two guys treat him as a cooking machine without emotions? Let's start quickly, no one will disturb us. Jun returned to his position, holding the chopsticks in his hands, ready to go. Etc. Ling Bai poked his head out from the pile of ingredients, rolled his eyes and said, if you want to eat. It's not impossible. Stop talking nonsense. If you have any requests, please wait until we are full. Zeph snorted coldly and saw Ling Bai's little thoughts at a glance. That's not okay. When I'm full and I'm full, I'll turn my back on you. Who am I going to talk to reason with you? Ling Bai put Ming Hong back into the scabbard and slowly washed his hands with water. He had no intention of continuing to cook. Do you suspect that we will lie to you? Jun said, pointing to himself and then to Zeph, a Navy Headquarters Rear Admiral, a Navy Headquarters Admiral, do you understand? Serve the food. Hurry up. In fact, Zeph and Jun had already expected that Ling Bai would not be a chef in vain. But it was so delicious that even if Ling Bai acted like a villain, the two of them couldn't resist. Obviously, this is a conspiracy. And the two of them have fallen into this pit and cannot extricate themselves. You can make any requests. Ling Bai touched his chin and smiled with good intentions. If you want stars in the sky, there will definitely not be any. If you are like a lion and it is beyond my ability, there will definitely be none. So, you have to be aware that it is just a meal, and the ingredients are all provided on the Jun ship. Don't go too far. Zeph said coldly, directly opened the skylight and spoke frankly. But from beginning to end, he never put down his chopsticks. You are very strong in what you say. But you haven't paid me the wine you owe me for that warship. Ling Bai was not anxious at all. The longer it took, the more Zeph and Jun drooled. You brat! I've cashed it for you a long time ago. Didn't you drink the royal wine? That's it. Just a dozen pots, not a warship. Just those dozen pots are enough to buy a warship. Zeph snorted coldly. Hearing the sound, Ling Bai's eyes widened. Good guy, this is such a warship wine. But he really didn't expect that those wines were so expensive. Don't talk nonsense. Just tell me what the number is. I will give you the money directly. What kind of wine can't you buy? Zeph said grandly. As time went by, Zeph's patience was exhausted little by little. How could he be willing to be kept appetized by Ling Bai like this? Money. Ling Bai thought for a while. Indeed, the purchasing power of Bailey in this world is not bad, and they are not useless banknotes. If you have enough money, you can even ask others to collect good wine in the world. Fine. Ling Bai compromised, then stretched out a finger and said, I don't want more, I set a small goal, just 100 million. How many did you say? Zeph thought he heard wrongly. 100 million. If it's too little, you can give me a little more. How dare you speak up? It's just a meal, and you want 100 million. Zeph slapped the table, seemingly angry. But he still held the chopsticks in his hand. Oh, it's not much. There are a lot of pirates in the New World with a bounty of over 100 million. If you go out to sea and get a few back, you can treat me to cook a few meals. Ling Bai said disapprovingly. Jun was amused by these words, and explained helplessly, Ling Bai. Catching pirates is the Navy's duty. There is only merit and no bounty. The reward we got is far less than we imagined. When Zeph heard Ling Bai's remarks, he was obviously more excited and said disdainfully. Just pick a few? You are such a pity. Do you think all pirates are kind-hearted? They come to you one by one to let you catch them? You may not even see a hair after drifting on the sea for a few months. Let alone a pirate with a bounty of over 100 million, even if you want to meet a pirate with a bounty of 10 million, it is impossible. In Zeph's eyes, Ling Bai is still too young and many things are unrealistic. Even if this warship with a major general configuration goes to the New World, many pirates will go around and are unwilling to provoke it. To catch a pirate with a bounty of over 100 million, not only a lot of intelligence is needed, but also a long-term plan, otherwise it is easy for him to escape and fail. However, at this moment, there was a movement outside the door. Who are you? What do you want to do? It's a pirate. Humph, you are so audacious, you are looking for death. You probably don't know who is on the ship yet? Let your captain come over. Outside the door, there were shouts from the Navy, followed by the sound of intensive fighting. However, after a while, the voices of the Navy disappeared. Bang! The door was violently pushed open, and several burly pirates walked in. Behind them, the rest of the Navy were subdued. Humph! You shout so loudly, but you are not strong enough. A pirate holding a 2-meter-long knife and fork taunted. Behind him, a Navy who was pressed to the ground was very unconvinced and roared, if we hadn't eaten, we would definitely have the strength to defeat you. Hearing this, the pirate who was standing in front of all the pirates and wiping the blood from his feet raised his head. The golden beard like a braid around his mouth was particularly conspicuous. Haven't you eaten? Are you hungry? Asked Goldbeard. Nonsense. Otherwise, how can you low-class pirates be our opponents? Then let's eat first. Paydai, Karn, go cook for them. Said Goldbeard. The Navy was shocked when he said this. Jun, who was about to draw his sword, was also stunned, and slowly put Kinpala into the scabbard. The pirates actually proposed to cook for the Navy, who would have thought that things would develop to this point. As for Zeph, he took out a bunch of wanted posters from nowhere, and the one he was looking at this time had the same photo as Goldbeard. Redfoot Zeph, good at leg skills, bounty 68 million Baileys. Zeph murmured, but his expression was very embarrassed. Unexpectedly, there really was a pirate worth tens of millions who came to the door. Looking up, Ling Bai was staring at him with a playful look on his face, and deliberately pouted at Zeph. As if saying, isn't it here? Suddenly, Zeph felt a burning pain on his face, as if he had been hit hard. Oh? Has my bounty increased again? GP stood up, but did not observe Zeph. In fact, since he entered the door, he has been paying attention to Ling Bai standing behind the chopping board. He immediately ignored Zeph and Jun and walked straight to the bar and sat down. Boy, just now. Were you cooking? Chapter 35. You get what you pay for. I found that GP ignored the Admiral and the Major General, and went to talk to a corporal first. The Navy who was pressed to the ground was almost dumbfounded. Are these pirates blind? Yes, it's me. Ling Bai put his hands on the chopping board and looked at GP with interest. He knew that Redfoot Zeph had a better relationship with Sanji than his biological father in the original work. The reason why he entered the Grand Line was to find the legendary chef's paradise, Albule. But what Ling Bai didn't expect was that Zeph's dedication to cooking was far beyond that of ordinary people. He dared to board the Navy's warship. Isn't this just giving it away for free? Can you please show me your skills? Zeph looked very serious and spoke very politely. Oh? Want to eat? You can say that. I came here by smell. When I'm full, I'll leave. But my fee is very expensive, 100 million Baileys per time. Ling Bai gestured with another finger. 100 million. GP frowned slightly. Hey! Brat, I'm sorry, don't you? If the boss asks you to cook, just do it honestly and stop talking nonsense. A pirate yelled. Being so arrogant, Jun turned his head in displeasure and glared at the pirate. What are you looking at? When he saw that this pirate was a female marine, he didn't pay much attention at first, but when he took a closer look, he was so frightened that his face turned pale. Major General! The pirate roared uncontrollably. Upon hearing this, the other pirates were also shocked. How is that possible? How can an ordinary warship have a Major General on board? Damn it! I thought it was a soft persimmon, but it looks like we're going to have a tough battle today. Captain Zepp, now is not the time to worry about cooking skills. Let's deal with this Major General first. In his words, the fear of the Admiral-level Navy is self-evident. At the same time, someone finally discovered Zeph sitting aside. It's General Zeph. This pirate soul was almost scared to death. For a moment, he didn't care about anything and ran away. He jumped into the sea decisively and swam desperately into the distance. The scene suddenly fell into deathly silence. Bang! A pirate's knife fell off. The sound of the knife falling to the floor was the straw that broke the camel's back. Just the intimidating power of the word general made all the pirates lose the idea of fighting. Everyone rushed out of the kitchen like crazy, dived into the water, and fled in all directions, not even the pirate ship. This scene stunned Paddy and Karn, who had just returned from cooking. What happened? Paddy wanted to hold his companion in for questioning. As a result, his companion ran very fast, giving Paddy no chance to make a sound. The two of them also had dozens of plates of fried rice on their arms, which made them really inflexible. After bringing the food to the Navy, Paddy looked into the kitchen. Zep was still there and had no intention of moving. Aren't you going to run? Asked the cook on the warship. The captain is still inside, how can he escape? Paddy and Karn sat directly at the door, not knowing the seriousness of the matter at all. As for the Navy, their stomachs began to growl as they looked at the fried rice in front of them. Is there poison in the rice? Ling Bai asked GP. How could I waste food? GP asked. That's true. Ling Bai shouted to the outside of the kitchen, eat with confidence. It's no problem. Remember to close the door for us. Oh. The chef was a little stunned. For some reason, he didn't disobey Ling Bai's order. He gently closed the kitchen door and picked up the fried rice in front of him. It's obviously just fried rice, but it's full of color, flavor, and the simple ingredients make for an excellent dish. After taking a bite, the chef's eyes lit up and he quickly devoured it. When the other Navy saw it, they swallowed their saliva and began to fill their stomachs without hesitation. As for inside, Zeph couldn't help but be a little surprised when he saw that GP was as motionless as a mountain. You can still be so calm after hearing my name. It seems that those guys who set the bounty have underestimated your threat. Zeph put away the wanted notice and looked at GP. He didn't seem as weak as 68 million. To be honest, he hates pirates very much. He hates them so much that he was about to get angry and take action before. But GP's willingness to give food to hungry people made Zeph soften his anger a little and be willing to say a few more words. I didn't expect there was a general here. I can't escape anyway, so why not buy some time for the crew to escape? GP sat calmly, looking like a criminal who was about to be arrested. But it looks like they don't have you as the captain in their hearts. Don't you feel sad? Jun asked. You don't need to stir up trouble. We are partners chasing dreams for the same ideal. I was the one who insisted on coming here before. Since it is so dangerous, it is a good thing to escape as soon as possible. Why should we all be arrested together? Faced with Zeph and Jun's verbal offensive, GP calmly responded. In words, do not fall behind. Wait. Aren't we talking about eating? Hungja, do you still want to eat? Ling Bai asked. Oh? Can I still eat it? GP's expressionless face finally showed a trace of emotion. Of course, for the hard work of 100 million Baileys, every penny is worth the goods. Ling Bai promised. Does money still have value? Anyway, if you catch me, won't everything on the boat belong to you? That's different. Ling Bai shook his finger, aren't you arrested yet? You agreed, put the money into my pocket, and then confiscated the rest. So that's it. GP nodded as if he was suddenly aware. How can you say this in front of pirates? Jun said solemnly. With such words, there is no sense of justice in the navy, as if they are engaging in some shady underground business. She immediately looked at Zeph, only to find that Zeph turned a blind eye and was not prepared to stop him. Okay. 100 million belly. Deal. Leave the money in the captain's cabin. GP also specially reported a place to Ling Bai. Okay. Thank you, boss. Ling Bai slapped the table and quickly started tinkering. The smell of fireworks rekindled in the kitchen. Taking advantage of this moment, Jun moved his position next to Zeph and whispered, Teacher. You really don't care. What's the hurry? Didn't someone pay the bill? Let's eat the food first. Zeph whispered. Staring at the movements in Ling Bai's hands, he squeezed the chopsticks in his hands tightly. However, he ignored that Ling Bai had excellent hearing. You two want to have sex for free? Impossible. With that said, Ling Bai deliberately brought the dish in front of GP, not giving Zeph a chance to stretch out his chopsticks. As for GP, who was in a desperate situation, he never thought about the possibility of escaping. Instead, he felt no pressure and was very relaxed. Picked up the chopsticks and said loudly. Thanks for the treat, I'm starting. Chapter 36. This dish combines many ingredients and has a clear sense of layering and matching. GP took a bite, his braided beard rising up like defying gravity. This tastes like it. Sure enough. There was nothing wrong with what he smelled outside. The cooking skills of the people cooking there are amazing. Immediately, regardless of the image, he ate one bite after another, like a whirlwind, eating up all the remaining food. The appearance of feasting made Zeph and Jun's salivary glands secrete saliva continuously. 100 million. It's worth it. GP stroked his beard with satisfaction, bared his teeth and smiled happily, looking forward to the next dish. Inadvertently, he glanced at Zeph and Jun. Their eyes were like faint wolf eyes in the dark night, glowing with green light. Redfoot. Can you finish eating by yourself? Zeph growled. The invisible pressure made the hairs on GP's body stand on end. Even though he was just talking, GP felt very depressed. So strong. GP thought to himself. There was no move, just momentum, but he felt like there was a majestic mountain standing in front of him, but he was like an ant, unattainable. No matter how confident he is in his kicking skills, he probably won't be as good as Zeph. Don't be scared by him. Let him have the ability to kill you. Ling Bai said with a smile. Then, another plate of food was brought over. You think I don't dare? Zeph's voice became lower and lower. The temperature in the room dropped a bit. GP sat on pins and needles. Isn't it a good meal? Why are you starting to kill yourself? Is this the Admiral level Navy? It looked like a relaxed and carefree conversation with him, but in fact, life and death were just a matter of thoughts. The Grand Route is indeed very different from the East Blue Sea. The Navy here is as powerful as a monster. Looking at the beautifully decorated meal in front of him, GP gritted his teeth. Perhaps, this is the decapitation meal. This decapitation meal. This decapitation meal. This decapitation meal. It's really fragrant. GP seemed to have seen a lobule, so he put aside all distracting thoughts and continued to eat. Instead of commenting on it, all he said were words of praise. If you really have the ability to kill him, I'll treat you to this meal. Ling Bai said with a playful smile. Then it's settled. Zeph agreed. Do it. Ling Bai was very considerate and even threw the black knife Minghong over. Zeph took Minghong and made skillful gestures. Good knife. The tip of the knife drew a beautiful arc. Swish. Put the knife on GP's neck. GP heard the conversation between the two clearly. At this time, GP was still sitting steadily in his seat, eating, but his movements were obviously stiff, showing his inner restlessness. Redfoot. Remember, the Navy who killed you is called Ling Bai. Zeph said. Then, he raised Minghong high. The sharp edge on his neck temporarily left, and GP slowly closed his eyes, waiting for the moment when the knife fell. Dying while eating the most delicious food, perhaps, is my best ending. GP thought to himself. When he entered the Grand Line, he knew that there might be such a day, and this time he went against all odds and boarded the ship by force, and he did not regret it. Then, GP thought a lot again. The biggest regret might be that the sailing time was too short and he did not find the rumored alobule. While sighing, GP waited for a long time, but found that the knife never fell. Tisk. Zeph didn't kill Zeph. He threw Minghong down and stuck it on the floor. He then shouted, 100 million Baileys. I'll give it to you. Thank you, boss. Ling Bai smiled knowingly and made another portion when cooking. In fact, he still had some understanding of Zeph. Zeph had fought countless battles in his life. He was known as Black Arm Zeph because of his powerful armament haki. He conquered countless pirates but never killed any enemy. Even though Zeph hated pirates to the core, he still maintained his principles and never changed. Seeing that Zeph didn't ask him to eat together until his death, if he wanted to share the delicious food, he had to give the 100 million Baileys obediently. Really? Now, only Jun was not eligible to eat. But Jun could never have imagined that Zeph actually agreed to give Ling Bai 100 million Baileys. Apart from anything else, that was 100 million. Beautiful lady over there. Ling Bai greeted elegantly. What's wrong? Jun swallowed his saliva, as if he was expecting something. If you don't want to eat, can you help me pick up the knife? Ling Bai pointed at Minghong. Just now, he lent it to Zeph, but Zeph stuck it directly into the ground, leaving him without tools to cut the food. Jun pouted. This was not the answer she wanted. Holding Minghong in his hand, he gently lifted it, and a crisp sound of it coming out of the sheath was heard. Jun subconsciously looked at it, and was immediately attracted by the texture of the black knife. What's the name of your knife? Jun asked. If it doesn't make a sound, it will be amazing. It's as graceful as a startled swan and as gentle as a swimming dragon. The name of the knife is Minghong. I feel that the last two sentences seem to describe the figure of a woman. No, it's describing the artistic conception of Ziwivoliu's body movement. As he said that, Ling Bai stretched out his hand and motioned Jun to give him the knife. But Jun seemed unwilling and continued to talk. Why is your knife not recorded in the 21 Great Swords and the 12 Supreme Great Swords? Hearing this, it was Zeph who became impatient. Didn't I just say it? If it doesn't make a sound, it's fine. This knife hasn't even been born yet. GP also added, if you don't want to eat, please go out. If you want to talk to the chef, please pay first. Hearing this, Ling Bai looked at GP in surprise. This guy is very sensible. And GP also raised his eyebrows at Ling Bai. The tacit understanding between chefs is something that other people don't understand at all. You guys. Jun saw that these three stinky men actually teamed up to bully him, and a wave of anger rose to his heart. It's just 100 million. On credit. Jun threw Minghong to Ling Bai and sat down. Pull out the chopsticks and prepare to have a big fight with Zeph and GP. Thank you, three bosses. Ling Bai laughed and whistled and started to tinker. The ingredients piled up into a tower gradually became shorter. On the way, Zeph asked Jun, I didn't expect you to be willing to give 100 million. If I didn't ask some questions about kendo and black swords, I would never give it. That's right, if you can get something from asking for kendo, 100 million tuition is not expensive. Zeph nodded and understood Jun's real purpose. Besides, didn't you give it too? Jun said unhappily. Originally, she and Zeph were on the same front. Unexpectedly, Zeph was the first to betray the revolution. I'm different. Zeph laughed, I have my own way. There was a cunning light in his eyes. Chapter 37. Fishman Island. Time ticked by. It has to be said that Zeph, Jun, and Zeph are like a bottomless pit. And Jun took the opportunity to ask Ling Bai many questions about kendo. But Ling Bai had never learned any swordsmanship. It was purely because he drank 2 pots of Dekui Gongshen Pin wine that he reached the realm of a great swordsman. All kinds of sword skills came from his heart, without roots or sources. However, for Ziwen, those basic swordsmanship knowledge was useless. It was the realm perception that could gain the most. Therefore, Ling Bai talked while cooking, and Ziwen nodded repeatedly while eating. 2 great swordsmen, one was willing to talk, and the other was willing to believe. Zeph and Zeph could only nod their heads, as if they understood. The reason I practiced kicking skills is to protect my hands for cooking. After hearing what you said, I seem to be wrong. GP only understood half of what he heard, but he also had some insights. The more you deliberately protect something, the more it is like a flower in a greenhouse. If you want to handle complex ingredients well, how can you do it without some hard skills? Ling Bai asked back, wiping the sweat from his forehead. The Minghong in his hand drew a series of afterimages, as if he was carving something with great effort. Jun stared at it intently. She noticed that although Ling Bai used a black knife to cook, the black knife was not stained with any debris. When she took it in her hand just now, she also deliberately smelled it, and there was not even a fishy smell. This feeling of the blade passing through it without touching anything made her admire it, and she also had some insights in her heart. Finally, Ling Bai made the last cut and breathed a sigh of relief. The last dish. All Buell. Please taste it. A seafood platter with a gathering of heroes was delivered to the three people. The dazzling array of things are the essence of the ingredients. Outside the dish, there was a bubble film made of some unknown ingredients, wrapping all the seafood. The carving inside was exquisite and exquisite. It was placed there, like a work of art. The three diners saw it and did not eat it at the first time. It's so beautiful. Jun was intoxicated. There were also small pearls, shells, etc. on the plate. The exquisiteness touched Jun's girlish heart. Extreme carving, amazing craftsmanship, it's enough to see this level in this life. Jeep admired Ling Bai. To be able to cook to this level, he is simply a god chef. But Zeph didn't speak for a long time. He looked at the dish again and again, and looked at it carefully, feeling like he had seen it somewhere. Then, he saw the words Dragon Palace engraved on a building and was shocked. Is this Fishman Island? Zeph raised his head in shock and looked at Ling Bai. As expected of a general, he is familiar with the depths of the sea. Ling Bai nodded. Jun touched his chin and said, Fishman Island? Is it the deep sea Sin Island that caused the riots in the Holy Land a few years ago? That's just a hat given to Fishman Island by the world government to put pressure on it. In fact, the Dragon Palace Kingdom of Fishman Island is still a member of the world government. But the truth behind it is, the Sun Pirates burned down the Holy Land Marijoa, and the pirate leader Fisher Tiger released most of the Celestial Dragon's slaves. Zeph said in a deep voice. Is the slave liberation incident true? Jun exclaimed. Yes, although the world government has been suppressing the news, the truth cannot be concealed, but... Zeph stared at Ling Bai from beginning to end. Stinky boy, what do you mean by making this dish? Even if the deep sea Sin Island is a hat given by the world government, it also makes clear the position of the Navy in Fishman Island. Ling Bai was sober at this time, and spent a lot of effort to make this dish. It was by no means accidental, but targeted. As for why Ling Bai knew what Fishman Island looked like, it was not the main issue that Zeph was concerned about. On the side, Jun also wanted to know the answer. Both of them stared at Ling Bai, hoping to get a reasonable answer. Different places, different things to see. Ling Bai chuckled and turned to look at GP. Doubtfully, Zeph and Jun followed Ling Bai's gaze and looked at GP. To their surprise, GP, who even faced death calmly, was looking at Fishman Island with tears. In the quiet room, there was only GP sobbing, holding the dish called albule, and falling in love with it. What's going on? Countless question marks appeared in Jaffa and Jun's heads. Could it be that among the liberated slaves, there are important people of Redfoot GP? After a while, GP said, Boy! Where is this Fishman Island? 100 million Baileys, one sentence. I'll give it. All. GP said without hesitation. Just below the Red Earth continent. Be more specific. Using the Sabayati archipelago or the Holy Land of Mara Eeao as a reference, it is easy to find it by diving 10,000 meters under the sea. It is not separated by the Red Earth continent. There is an underwater passage not far from Fishman Island, connecting the four seas of the east, west, south and north. So that's it. Zep collapsed in his seat. Sometimes he laughed wildly, sometimes he cried bitterly, sometimes he was surprised, and sometimes he sighed. The complex expression, like changing his face, made Zeph and Jun stunned. Jun counted it carefully. In just a few seconds, Ling Bai made 300 million. Oh my god! Is it so easy to make money from pirates? Jun was slightly moved. On the other side. No wonder you can make such delicious food, no wonder you can handle such rich ingredients. It turns out. Zep choked with excitement, it turns out you really went to Albule. Ling Bai smiled slightly, without commenting. He turned to look at Zeph and Jun. Do I need to explain? Ling Bai said softly. Zeph and Jun said nothing and sat back in their seats. Thank you. You helped me realize my dream. Knowing this, my pirate career has come to a perfect end. GP burst into tears, as if he saw fish from all over the world swimming in the bubble membrane of the dish. Don't you feel regretful that you didn't see it with your own eyes? Now that you know what Albule is, the road to chasing your dream has come to a perfect end. GP said with satisfaction. What would you have planned if you hadn't been caught today? Ling Bai asked. Let's go back to the East Blue Sea. I want to open a restaurant on the sea so that hungry people can have a meal. GP said. That sounds good. Zeph snorted coldly, you pirates are all the same. When you are outside, you are arrogant and cruel, but after being caught, you are as cowardly as grandsons and dare to say anything against your will. Hearing this, GP did not refute. Pirates are indeed like this, they are villains on the sea, they are the representatives of evil, and he also knows that he is not a good person. The topic about dreams was interrupted by Zeph's interruption. This is reality. Ling Bai packed up and said with a smile. Okay. Today's banquet ends here. Next, it's the most enjoyable part of collecting money. As he said that, he stretched out his hand to Zeph. Chapter 38. Only dirt can fight dirt. What for? Zeph glared. Of course it's the meal money. You didn't say you wanted to buy on credit. With the reputation of the Admiral, you won't bully a corporal like me, right? Ling Bai rubbed his thumb and index finger together, intending to ask for money. Money? Humph, where is it? Zeph raised his head and pointed his chin at Zeph. What? Ling Bai frowned slightly. For some reason, he had a bad premonition. Redfoot Zeph, the bounty is 68 million Baileys, I just caught him. There is also the ship of the chef pirates outside, intact, worth at least 50 million Baileys. The 2 pirates at the door are discounted and given to you. It must be at least 100 million. Zeph said seriously. More than 100 million, there is still a surplus after this calculation. Are you kidding me? Ling Bai glared. Zeph was sitting here, and he didn't want to run at all, so how can it be considered that you caught him? What's more, others obviously came here to smell the smell of food, and if you want to count the credit, it should be the chef's credit. But Zeph is a general after all, whoever he says caught it, that's who caught it. I calculated it according to your method. When you discussed it with me before, didn't you think that the bounty of pirates could be exchanged for real currency? Zeph said seriously, but his stern face showed a little smile, as if his evil plan had succeeded. Ling Bai's eyelids twitched. This old fox actually tricked him in the opposite way. As a navy, even if he handed over the entire chef pirate group, he could not get 100 million Baileys. On the side, Jun was overwhelmed by Zeph's operation. It turned out that Zeph's so-called own method was just this method. Indeed, theoretically speaking, Zeph did pay more than 100 million Baileys. But what should I do? Jun bit her lip lightly. She thought Zeph was determined to give 100 million, but she didn't expect that he was playing tricks. In this psychological game between Ling Bai and Zeph, she was like a fool, and she actually owed 100 million in anger. You know, she didn't have any backup plan. With Ling Bai's persistence in doing things, he would definitely not let her go easily. What should I do? Jun looked at Zeph's back with resentment, feeling very wronged. People are like this. If someone falls into the pit with you, you feel better, but that person just pretends to fall into the pit, then you will feel extremely uncomfortable. Jun is like this now, very uncomfortable. That's a full 100 million Baileys. Just thinking about it makes my heart bleed. Zeph, you are not ashamed to pay in this way. Ling Bai called him by his name, obviously angry. And Zeph, looking at Ling Bai's angry look, was very happy, and didn't care about these details, and said complacently. Since you are so embarrassed to accept 100 million in meal money, why am I so embarrassed to give you money like this? Only dirt can deal with dirt. In the process of dealing with pirates for a long time, Zeph has already understood all kinds of tricks. Boy, if you want to fight with me, you should be smarter. Zeph said proudly. If you can't even deal with this situation, how can you teach the entire navy and how can you deal with all the troublesome problems? You're cruel. But don't touch the Baileys I earned just now. Ling Bai threatened. The transactions made before the arrest are not included in the seized materials. Zeph said in accordance with the law. The meal was finished successfully, and what he wanted had been achieved. As for the money Jeep agreed to give to Ling Bai, he was willing to turn a blind eye. After all, once you enter his training camp, you won't be able to spend any money at all, no matter how much you have, it's useless. In Zeph's eyes, Ling Bai is really too young. He thinks very simply about many things and has no idea who he is competing against. Okay. I remember this. Redfoot, let's get the money. You are not allowed to get on the boat until I come down. Ling Bai said hard, picked up Jeep and walked towards the pirate ship. Jeep subconsciously resisted, but found that the big hand holding him had unshakable power. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't even move it. This power. He originally thought that Ling Bai relied on his cooking skills to tie up the general's stomach, so he dared to speak like that, but he did not expect that this chef actually had extremely terrifying strength, but he also pretended to be a corporal, pretending to be a pig and eating the tiger. Bang! The kitchen door was kicked open, and Patty and Karn stood up suddenly. Let go of the captain. They both said in unison. But as soon as they finished speaking, the two of them felt like the world was spinning and they flew out. So fast. Both Jeep and Hai Jun, who had just finished eating fried rice, were startled by Ling Bai's actions. The lightning-like kick left only a fleeting afterimage. And this had an even greater impact on Jeep. He was already good at legwork and kicking skills, and he could feel that Ling Bai was using pure muscle power to control his legs, rather than skills. But it was precisely this that highlighted Ling Bai's terror. To achieve that level of speed with pure strength showed that the explosive power of his muscles had exceeded his imagination. Is this the Grand Line? So dangerous. Jeep was tall, but he was carried onto the pirate ship by Ling Bai like a little chicken. Patty and Karn, who had just been kicked aboard, made 2 holes on the deck and lay unconscious at the bottom of the hole. Don't worry, I didn't use any force, I can't die. Ling Bai said. Hearing the sound, Jeep looked bitter. They both passed out, and you said you didn't use any force. If you really did, wouldn't it mean that the two of them would explode? But he didn't speak. It wasn't that he didn't dare to speak, but Ling Bai carrying him made him feel very uncomfortable and couldn't speak at all. The two came to the captain's cabin. Ling Bai threw Jeep away, clapped his hands and said, besides money, is there anything special on the ship? No, no. Don't you often rob gold and silver treasures? Ling Bai asked. All the treasures have been replaced by Baileys, because we are chefs and need to buy various ingredients frequently. Some places look at us as pirates and only accept Baileys, not the treasures. Jeep explained. Then, pull out the secret compartment from the hiding place, which contains several large boxes. Open the box, and it's all packed with Baileys. But what caught Ling Bai's attention was that there was an old small box in the hidden compartment. Compared with the big box containing Bailey, it looked out of place. What's this? Ling Bai asked curiously. He reached out and opened the small box. Chapter 39. Jeep's Treasure. Inside the small box, there is a yellowed book. Seeing this, Jeep said, this is the treasure I got accidentally. It is because of it that I learned the kicking skills I have now and went to sea to find the legendary albule. Ling Bai turned over the yellowed pages, as if they had been soaked in sea water. The contents of the book are like autobiography and travel notes. Sometimes you can see how to cook certain dishes, sometimes you can see descriptions of albule, and sometimes you can see the practice of kicking skills. But as Ling Bai flipped through the book, he found that the description of one of the kicking skills was very similar to the moon step. For a moment, Ling Bai looked at it a few more times. You have good eyes. To be honest, this kind of kicking technique requires a very high level of physical strength. I haven't learned it yet. Do you think people can really step on the air and fly into the sky? Jeep couldn't imagine it. If the explosive power is enough, it's not a difficult thing. Ling Bai answered casually, but found that the description of the moon step in the book was too detailed and quite profound. Between the lines, there are even many developments and ideas about the moon step. If it was just an ordinary travel note, it would never be this high. The feeling of this writing is like a textbook. Textbook? Ling Bai suddenly recalled the original manuscript of the 6 styles that Zeph gave him. Because he drank the divine Daigosho wine, he could recite the contents by heart. There was a paragraph about the development of paper painting, which was exactly the same as some of the words in this book. The legacy of the physical arts master. Ling Bai was skeptical, and whispered in his heart, "System, transform this thing into wine." Ding conversion completed, get a pot of Daigosho wine, divine, after drinking it is like a revelation, get a lot of kicking skills, moon step max. Ding conversion completed, get a pot of cooking wine, divine, after drinking it can greatly increase digestion ability, cooking level max, can be stacked. Ding conversion completed, get a pot of experience wine, medium quality, after drinking it can increase experience. A series of prompt sounds rang in Ling Bai's mind. The content recorded in the travel notes was too complicated, and the system automatically classified it and converted various different knowledge into different wines. A few seconds later, Ling Bai had several more pots of wine in his hand. But what surprised Ling Bai was that in addition to a pot of divine Daigosho wine, he also got a bottle of divine cooking wine. In other words, according to the contents of this book, you can make real divine dishes. Have you eaten devil fruit? GP was shocked. It was a book just now, but now it is wine. This supernatural phenomenon reminded him of the power that was cursed by the sea in the rumor. Ling Bai did not answer, but asked, "What is the greatest meaning of cooking for you?" "Of course, it is to fill the stomachs of hungry people," GP said without thinking. "So that's it." Ling Bai finally understood the fundamental reason why GP had such a powerful ancient book but did not practice it to the end. It is precisely because compared with the color, fragrance, taste, and function of the dishes, GP cares more about whether the food he makes can fill people's stomachs. It is impossible to learn divine dishes in this way. GP, if there is a chance to escape now, but you need to do something, are you willing? Ling Bai stared at GP and said seriously. "What did you say?" GP's breathing suddenly became rapid. His originally relaxed face suddenly tensed up. "As the words say, I can let you go, but you also need to do something for me," Ling Bai said bluntly. "Are you serious?" GP couldn't help but clench his fists. Before, he knew he couldn't escape, but he was relieved. But now he was told that he could escape, and he couldn't calm down anymore. "As long as you help me find good wine in the East Blue Sea that is comparable to yours, I will let you go back. If you do a good job, there will even be a reward," Ling Bai promised. "Wine? Just looking for wine?" GP still couldn't believe it. "I just want good wine. For me, you and your ship have no value at all. And Zeph traded you to me just to make me famous. Just imagine, a corporal who captured a pirate with a bounty of tens of millions by himself can fight for many things." Ling Bai's expression was calm, and there was no anger when he was arguing with Zeph. In fact, Ling Bai didn't believe that Zeph would give 100 million Baileys from the beginning. The reason why he pretended to be angry was just to go on the ship alone to search and see if there was anything good. "You have your calculations, I have my thoughts, but we care about different things." It just so happened that Ling Bai had already planned to arrange people to search for good wine. Zeph sold GP to him, and now he used it to give GP a favor, which was not a loss. "Are you not interested in merit?" GP asked. "If I were interested in merit, would I still be a corporal?" Ling Bai pointed at the bar on his shoulder with great disdain. "Now, I don't want to attract too much attention. Letting you go without merit is also a good thing, so that you won't be pushed to the front row to block bullets by others. Don't talk nonsense, give me a clear answer." "Wait. Let me slow down." GP sat down directly, combing his beard constantly, his eyes swaying from side to side, terrified. The Navy was willing to let him go, and the condition of the exchange was just to search for wine, which was really unacceptable to him. "As long as you agree, I can lend you 100 million Baileys as start-up capital for setting up a restaurant on the sea in the East Blue Sea. You can count it in the wine bill and pay it back to me slowly." Ling Bai offered another benefit. "Do you really believe I will leave the Grand Line?" GP asked in surprise. "As you said, the dream-chasing journey has come to a successful conclusion. You have no reason to stay in the Grand Line." GP was still surprised when he heard this. He just mentioned it casually, but he never expected that the other party would believe it. "Of course, if there is anything particularly strange, you should also keep an eye out for me. It's best to collect it. If not, you should also notify me with a den mushi," Ling Bai said in a deep voice. "Are you looking for something?" GP was relieved when he heard Ling Bai say this. After all, wine is too ordinary and not worth paying so much attention to, but if you say collecting something special, then there is too much room for association. No need to ask more, I just ask you one question, do you agree? Ling Bai said coldly. Using both kindness and force, GP felt that the boy in front of him was like an old monster who had rejuvenated, mature in mind, and extremely scheming. Deal. GP made the deal, and then asked, but if you want to let me go, will the Major General and General outside agree? Don't worry about that. Just hold on to the boat tightly in a while. Chapter 40. Behind the dinner. On the warship. Strange. Why has he been up there for so long and hasn't come down yet? Jun was getting impatient waiting. In theory, when confiscating materials, in order to prevent someone from pocketing the money, every sum of money confiscated must be registered by a special person and then handed in full. But just now, Zeph and Ling Bai had arranged everything clearly, and she had no chance to get on the boat, nor did she have the chance to know what Ling Bai did on the boat. Don't worry, that ZP is not a threat to Ling Bai. Zeph smiled. He owed Ling Bai 100 million baileys and had a delicious meal for free, and he seemed to be in a very good mood. I'm not worried about Ling Bai. Jun rolled his eyes. Just kidding, if GP dared to attack Ling Bai, he would be dead. No way. A boy like Ling Bai is so outstanding, talented, a great swordsman, and even a good cook. He is a perfect match for you, aren't you tempted? Zeph joked. Teacher. What are you talking about? Jun's pretty face turned red, and she glanced aside in a serious manner. Okay, okay. I won't get involved in the affairs of you young people. Zeph said with a smile, but his eyes were always paying attention to Jun's expression, and he nodded secretly. Then he asked again, a corporal who captured a pirate with a bounty of 68 million and seized a pirate ship alone, what position can he be promoted to? There are few precedents in the navy, and I don't know. Jun said, suddenly realizing something, staring at Zeph in shock, and screamed, did you deliberately sell the merit to Ling Bai? Zeph neither admitted nor objected, staring at Jun silently. Noticing Zeph's eyes, Jun subconsciously took 2 steps back. Zeph said in a deep voice, Corporal, the level is still too low. If there is any action from he or Zhangguo, Ling Bai can be transferred directly without my consent. I have several groups of students under my command, and it is impossible for me to keep guarding him. But it is illegal to buy and sell merit privately. Jun said embarrassedly. When did I buy and sell merit? Zeph smiled, didn't you also buy a seat for 100 million baileys? Everyone is the same. In an instant, Jun felt that he had entered a big game. Step by step, one after another, she didn't notice when this game started. But now, she is already in the game, and the best evidence to prove that the law does not buy and sell merits is that she also participated in the whole process and paid 100 million baileys on a voluntary basis. Besides, it's not just her, the navy outside can testify that the pirates were attracted by the aroma of Ling Bai's cooking. What Zeph did was just ignore the deterrent effect of the admiral and the major general, and put all the credit on Ling Bai alone. As for the final transaction, it made the whole process feel seamless. I'm too naive, I actually thought it was just as simple as eating. Jun whispered. Compared with Zeph, she is like a young girl who has just started her career, and her mind is far less cautious. At this time, Ling Bai walked down from the boat, carrying several large boxes on his left shoulder and a few pots of wine in his right hand. Leisurely, happily got off the boat. Why are you alone? Where's Redfoot Zeph? Jun asked. Hearing the voice, Ling Bai turned his head and smiled strangely. At the same time, he shouted, hold on. Before anyone could react, Ling Bai jumped up and kicked the stern of the pirate ship with a whip kick. The terrifying force directly launched the pirate ship like a cannonball, and the bow of the ship swayed a circle of huge waves, almost breaking the sound barrier. In a blink of an eye, it disappeared beyond the horizon. The sudden scene made all the navy dumbfounded. What are you doing? Zeph directly lifted Ling Bai's sleeves, his eyes as big as copper bells. Why did you let them go? Jun also asked. As a navy, letting the pirates leave is undoubtedly a disgrace to the banner of justice. Without waiting for Ling Bai to speak, Zeph continued to roar, that's a pirate, and you are a navy. The navy should completely eliminate the pirates. Do you know what it means to eliminate them? I have already eliminated the pirates. Ling Bai said calmly. You let them go, and you still dare to say that you have eliminated them. GP promised me that he would return to the East Blue Sea to open a sea restaurant immediately. Now he is just a chef, and the pirate named Redfoot GP has been eliminated. Do you believe what he said? Zeph sneered, can you believe what a pirate says? Do you know what you are doing? If Jun tells Crane about this, you will even be imprisoned as an accomplice. Hearing this, Jun's mouth twitched. When this sentence was said, it seemed as if she and Crane were big villains in the Navy's skin. If you don't believe it, you can investigate it yourself. If he enters the Grand Line again, I will catch him back with my own hands. Ling Bai remained calm. What's the use of such a guarantee? You don't even know what you did. Of course I know. That's why we have to let them go. Ling Bai said. What did you say? Zeph said in surprise. Let me use GP as a ladder to rise all the way up, which can indeed prevent me from being dispatched by others for no reason, but you think, I have achieved so much just after entering the training camp, doesn't it mean that I don't have 300 taels of silver here? You mean? A big tree attracts the wind. This will only increase the attention of the senior management on me. Even every move will be observed. Of course, asking them to spend so much effort is not to target me. Ling Bai stopped. After a few words, the furious Zeph calmed down and began to think seriously. Ling Bai continued, with the wisdom of Chief Hide, wouldn't you be able to see that this is a feat you arranged for me? Unless you want to use me to divert her attention, otherwise, it is undoubtedly to tell her how much you love me. Pay attention to. Humph. Brat, who do you think you are? I still know how many pounds I have. At least in the current training camp, no one is my opponent. Ling Bai said. The brat who hasn't even learned how to be armed and domineering has a very loud tone. You can always learn it. If you can't even learn the domineering power of weapons, you, the teacher, will not be the only one to be embarrassed. You are a very powerful person. You. Zeph's eyes bulged. Ling Bai was eloquent and logical. The two of them were just bickering, and Zeph had no upper hand at all. You brat, what happened today will not be turned over easily. Don't let me catch you having anything to do with pirates, otherwise I won't be able to spare you. Zeph dropped a harsh word and turned to leave. However, after taking a few steps, Zeph's furious look disappeared. From beginning to end, he was not angry. But in my heart, I kept thinking about Ling Bai's words. Indeed. I wanted him to attract more hatred and temper him, but in comparison, the attention of caring people is the big thing. Thinking about it this way, let him show his face now, is it better? It's too early. Zeph secretly looked back at Ling Bai. When this kid wasn't drinking, he was so thoughtful that he even thought about me. Courageous and resourceful, he is a good seedling worth his time to cultivate. Chapter 41. Zeph returned to the captain's room and began to read a lot of information, not knowing what he was planning. After experiencing the episode in the kitchen, the Navy on the ship still had a lot of things to deal with, so they went off to do their own business. As for Jun, he and Ling Bai carried 300 million belly and several bottles of wine to Ling Bai's small room. Why are you following me? Is it possible that you don't have enough 100 million belly and want to pay with your body? Ling Bai said playfully. Meet payment. Jun looked at Ling Bai from top to bottom. She never imagined that Ling Bai would dare to speak to her like this. Even though her hair hasn't even grown yet, she's already craving for her body. Despicable. Jun snorted coldly in his heart. Smelly men are all the same. But then he rolled his eyes and had a new idea, looking shy. Really? Can we pay with your body? Then Why not just stay in this small room? Jun's eyes were full of amusement, and he seemed unable to say the next words. Leaning lightly on Ling Bai's shoulder, he threw the navy cloak aside, exposing his fragrant shoulders. So you are so sexy! Ling Bai exclaimed. Jun usually wears a navy cloak, which covers a lot of his figure. Oh, what are you talking about? Jun half hidden his words, picked up a bottle of wine with his slender hands, and said, then let's do something pleasant when we get drunk together. The tone is seductive and soft. However, as soon as the wine bottle touched Jun's lips, Ling Bai snatched it away. Jun Chucha said pitifully, what are you doing, shocking her? Didn't you praise her sexy just now? Could it be that to you, my body is not as good as a bottle of wine? Jun knew that men couldn't bear to hear these words, especially a beautiful woman like her. Who could resist it? Even if Ling Bai is a great swordsman, it doesn't matter. As long as he matures, he will definitely bow down to her beauty and let himself be slaughtered. But what Ling Bai said next left Jun speechless. Sorry, sexiness is worthless in front of wine. Ling Bai said ruthlessly. Jun's eyelids twitched wildly, and he was completely defeated by Ling Bai's persistence in drinking. He couldn't help shouting, "Are you still a man? I am so beautiful, in your eyes, I am not as good as a bottle of wine." Ling Bai grinned and said, "You won't really give me a chance anyway. Those pirates who were deceived by your appearance may have turned into souls killed by your Jin Palau sword, right?" Jun's future code name is Momo Usagi. The reason why he chose this code name is precisely because of Jun's charming appearance and his ability to seduce girls. Now that he knows this, no matter how hard Jun tries, he can't take advantage of Ling Bai at all. I didn't expect that. I underestimated your kid's character. I don't know how many pirates like you have killed in your early years. Jun returned to his usual coolness, and the fragrance slowly revealed shoulders recovered. Thank you for your compliment, but if I don't pay back the money, the door is right over there, so I won't let you go. Ling Bai issued an eviction order. Hearing this, Jun looked unhappy. After all, this was her worship, so Ling Bai was so naturally turned against being a guest. I have only one question. If you answer me honestly, I will leave. Jun said seriously. Then asked quickly. How did you know that? The Navy's top brass was targeting Mr. Zeph. Hey? Is it targeted? Don't pretend to be confused with me. What you just said is very clear. Only the Admiral-level Navy who have been waiting at the headquarters for a long time know about the martial dispute. How did you get the news? Jun stared at Ling Bai. Martial battle. Ling Bai really didn't know, so he nodded thoughtfully. You dare to say you don't know? I know now, so I'm wondering if it will have any bad impact on me. You really don't know? Jun looked at Ling Bai and it seemed that he was not lying. Then why did you just say that someone would target Teacher Zeph? I didn't. Ling Bai spread his hands, I'm just saying that the higher UPS will not target me for no reason. As for the deeper meaning, those of you who know the inside story are not just making up your mind. What? Jun was completely shocked. Thinking about it carefully, Ling Bai's answer to Zeph just now was indeed ambiguous and had no actual content at all. It turns out you have been playing word games with us. From beginning to end, there is not a single word of truth. Jun said. No, there is still truth. I believe that Jeepu will open a sea restaurant in the East Blue Sea in the future so that hungry people will have food to eat. Hearing this, Jun looked at Ling Bai in disbelief. When drunk, this guy acts like a lunatic, wild and reckless. But now that he is sober, Ling Bai is actually willing to offend Zeph just to give the pirate a chance to live a new life. Is this still the drunkard? Jun thought to himself. Ling Bai's explanation of eliminating pirates just now was still fresh in her memory. Are you so gentle? Jun asked blankly. Gentle? That's a good adjective. Ling Bai smiled. But on the sea, gentleness is not a good thing, it can even lead to death. Jun shook his head, recalling Ling Bai's experience. He was still too young and had never seen the cruelty of the sea. Are you caring about me? Ling Bai hooked Jun's chin with his fingers, speaking of which, you look like my type. Swish. As soon as he finished speaking, Jin Palau was already on Ling Bai's neck. I advise you to be careful what you say. Jun's voice didn't have any warmth at all. The oncoming killing intent washed over Ling Bai's face without reservation. Ha ha ha, you are only allowed to seduce me, but I am not allowed to seduce you. Ling Bai smiled and removed Jin Palau from his neck. Snort. Jun snorted coldly and turned around to leave. She added as she reached the door. Don't say I told you about that. Which thing? You forgot the best. After saying that, Jun closed the door with force. Ling Bai shook his head in amusement and turned to look at his 2 bottles of wine. Gently opening the lid of the wine, the rich aroma of the wine suddenly captured Ling Bai's mind. No, we'll be in Malinvondo soon. Don't get drunk. Ling Bai tried to restrain himself. But he couldn't take his eyes away. If you think about it carefully, I haven't had a drink for a long time. How about? Just drink a little. 1 bite. Just 1 bite. Ling Bai took a small sip. Suddenly, as if the dry earth was moisturized, Ling Bai groaned at the comfort that came from his heart. 1 bite. Just 100 million people. Chapter 42. Porisalano. Malinvando. The warship arrived successfully. Salute. The navy at the port shouted in unison. Zeph and Jun stood on the side of the ship, but did not find Ling Bai. Where are the others? Zeph asked. They should still be in the room, right? Jun looked at his subordinates. Report. Corporal Ling Bai has never come out since he entered the room. The subordinate shouted loudly. So honest? Jun asked. When he came down, didn't he bring a few bottles of wine? He should be drinking at the bar. Zeph chuckled. What? Drinking at the Navy headquarters? Jun stared. Since you guessed it, why didn't you stop me? With just a few bottles. A person like him who has been drinking all year round is just the bottom. What's more, if I personally send him to the training camp, what will happen? Zeph turned around and said with a smile, let him drink some. He won't be able to drink for a long time. Hearing this, Jun nodded. The daily training tasks in the elite naval training camp are very arduous, and the management is surprisingly strict. When she was training before, she would be as tired as a dog every day. She would go to bed when she got back to her room, so she wouldn't have time to think about anything else. Jun believes that no matter how much people like to drink, they will be too tired to think about drinking after going through that kind of hell-level high-intensity training. At this moment, a ray of yellow light shot out. At the port, the photons condensed and formed a tall man wearing a suit and leather shoes with tinted glasses. Look, it's Lieutenant General Porisalano. A powerful natural shining fruit, as fast as light. I heard that any attack will be instantly dodged. If you can't dodge, you won't be able to hit him at all. He will definitely have a place as the next general. The Navy whispered to each other, admiring Porisalano in their eyes. What are you doing here? Zeph frowned slightly. Since Porisalano graduated, he has often performed missions abroad, accumulated meritorious service, and rarely stayed at the Navy headquarters. It's so scary. Teacher, if I hadn't been asked to deliver the order, I really don't want to see your face. Porisalano scratched his face, his eyes wandering. He said it was scary, but in fact he didn't seem to care at all. Stop pretending to be weak in front of me. Stop talking nonsense. Was it the Warring States period that asked you to come? Zeph snorted coldly. It's not a Warring States general. Porisalano calmed down his casual expression slightly, moved his eyes, and stared at Zeph. Marshal Kong asked me to invite you over. He said that he had important matters to discuss, but don't worry, Marshal Kong has not been promoted to Commander-in-Chief of the entire army. TCH. The last half of the sentence is redundant. Zeph narrowed his eyes. For a lieutenant general to inform him in person, it must be something far-reaching. Are you going to Jun too? Zeph asked. No. Actually in this meeting, under the general, only I, Sakaski and Kuzan were ordered to attend. Oh? It seems that it is certain that you will become the next general. I would like to congratulate you in advance. Zeph said with a smile. It's okay. Becoming a general will cause more troubles. Porisalano plucked his ears and said nonchalantly, I've brought you the news, please vacate it as soon as possible. Time, everyone is waiting in the marshal's office, you are the only one missing. As soon as he finished speaking, Porisalano's whole body lit up with golden light. In a flash, it shot towards the marshal's office. Zeph cast his gaze in that direction. On top of the magnificent headquarters building, he felt that several people's eyes were staring at him on the warship. Jun, the plan has changed, I have to leave. Ling Bai, please send it there in person. After speaking, Zeph kicked his feet down. The entire warship sank a few inches. With the help of the recoil, Zeph jumped into the sky, made several big jumps, and headed towards the marshal's office with a gloomy expression. After that, Zeph climbed up directly by stepping on the cannon on the wall. Seeing this, Jun sighed silently. Why is this trouble happening to me again? Jun walked into the warship and came to Ling Bai's small room. Dong dong. Knocked twice on the door. For a while, there was no movement. Is it possible that he fell asleep? Jun thought to himself. Jun opened the door, and suddenly a figure rushed towards him. Oh! Why did the door open by itself? Ling Bai staggered. Jun didn't have the slightest precaution and was immediately thrown into his arms. The two of them fell to the ground at the same time. Ling Bai pressed down on Jun, his hands still fluttering around. Where are you touching? Jun pushed Ling Bai away hard. But unexpectedly, Ling Bai pressed her against the mast with force. You kid! What are you going to do? Jun's face turned red. When they were in the small room before, Ling Bai dared to pick her chin. Now it has become even more serious, directly pressing on her in public. So close, Jun could even feel Ling Bai's strong heartbeat. Do not move. Ling Bai's red face said very seriously, such a big wind and wave will blow you off the boat, it will be dangerous. Wind and wave? What kind of wind and wave? Jun looked up. The sea and sky are vast, the wind is gentle and the sun is beautiful, and the weather couldn't be better. Can't you feel the ship shaking so much? I suspect we are taking the wrong route. Ling Bai said seriously. And when he heard the boat rocking, 3 black lines appeared on Jun's forehead. Get out! She kicked Ling Bai away. Boom! Ling Bai hit the wall and the ship shook violently. Look! The boat is about to be capsized by the waves. It's dangerous here. Come to my house quickly. Ling Bai said, directly holding Jun's hand and entering the house. Jun felt a huge force pulling him, unable to resist at all, and in the blink of an eye, he was taken into the house. In desperation, Jun said bitterly, You are drunk. We have arrived at marine land, there is no wind. There is no wave. Impossible. Ling Bai waved his hand with a smile, picked up the wine bottle and showed it to Jun. I just took a sip, just one sip. One bite. Jun sneered. He took the wine bottle and hung it upside down. It's all clean. Where's the drop of wine? It seems like I drank a few more sips, but at most one pot. Ling Bai promised. Yet. Jun lifted several other pots beside Ling Bai. Hanging upside down, it's empty. Then he threw it casually to Ling Bai. Is this your pot? Jun asked. Oh. Ling Bai showed a look of surprise. It turns out that I drank so much, no wonder I felt something was wrong with the rocking of the boat. This way, everything can be explained. What a stupid explanation. Jun was furious in his heart and hit Ling Bai on the head with a knife. This is the Navy headquarters, you. It makes me mad. Can you still leave? Jun said. Of course it's okay to leave. Take 2 steps. Ling Bai stood up calmly. Step. Plant. Chapter 43, The Wonderful Bailey's Wine. You brat. I really can't stand Jun anymore. After returning to Hong Kong, she still has a lot of things to deal with. Being a major general is not a sinecure job, and she doesn't have enough time to spend time with a drunkard wandering around here. Is there really no wave? Ling Bai fell to the ground, mumbling something in a low voice. I really regret not saying no just now. Jun said angrily. Lifting Ling Bai forcefully, he let Ling Bai's arm rest on his shoulders. Does it smell so good on you? Ling Bai said with a silly smile. Only then did Jun realize that the two of them were too close. If you dare to talk nonsense again, I will cut out your tongue. Jun said sternly. Ling Bai closed his mouth as if he was frightened, and was so good. Jun helped Ling Bai out, but before he could step out of the door, Ling Bai suddenly broke away from her. Wait. I haven't gotten the money yet. As he said that, he ran inside and hugged the big box containing Bailey. Seeing Ling Bai's legs and feet suddenly become agile, Jun blushed even more. Are you pretending to be drunk with me? They say you tell the truth when you're drunk. Just now, Ling Bai tried every means to get close to her. Was he really interested in him? Hey! You saw it. Ling Bai stood up gracefully and put the big box containing Bailey on his shoulders. He tossed his hair and strode forward. Step. Fall down. Several large boxes all fell on Ling Bai. One of the boxes was knocked open, and the neatly stacked Baileys smelled like money. Ling Bai raised his head and stared at Jun pitifully. Seeing this, Jun's eyelids twitched. Here comes the problem. To help or not to help? After waiting for a long time, Ling Bai saw that there was no movement in Jun, his face fell, and he said harshly. You owe me 100 million belly, and you are my slave. Before you pay back all the money, if I ask you to go east, you can't go west. Come, help me up. After speaking, Ling Bai proudly stretched out a hand. Servant. Jun laughed angrily. I have to say that Ling Bai is indeed a good player when it comes to challenging the bottom line of Jun. When Kimpira unsheaths himself, Jun draws his sword and cuts. He slashed directly at Ling Bai's outstretched hand. After images burst into bursts, so fast that people couldn't see clearly. Why don't you have a long memory? Your knife can't hurt me. Ling Bai's hands moved left and right. With his paper drawing realm, he dodged Jun's slashing attack without any haste. Hateful. Jun bit his silver teeth lightly, but he was helpless towards Ling Bai. After venting his anger, Jun reluctantly put Jinpira back into the sheath and said, I can help you, but if you want me to move the box, the fee will be very expensive. Oh? How expensive is it? 100 million belly, once. Jun snorted coldly. Ha ha ha, you are so thick-skinned. Ling Bai laughed. Hearing this, Jun was furious. You brat, what qualifications do you have to call me thick-skinned? I didn't learn from you to ask for such an exorbitant price. However, Jun also hoped that Ling Bai would agree when he was drunk, so as not to bother him again in the future. If you don't agree, throw the money on my boat. Jun said with his hands on his hips. How about that? Let me find a way. Ling Bai slowly sat up and stared at several large boxes. He had an idea. He put his hand on one of the boxes, and in the blink of an eye, the box containing 100 million belly turned into 2 jugs of wine. Ding! The transformation is completed, you will get a pot of billion-level Bailey's wine, a divine product. After drinking it, it will greatly enhance the 5 senses and greatly strengthen the domineering power of sight, hearing, color. It can be superimposed, if it is poured on a person, it can temporarily shake his mind. Ding! The transformation is completed, you will get a bottle of box wine, which is medium quality. After drinking it, you will get a different space the size of a box. The host can take out the items freely, and they cannot be superimposed. Listening to the system prompts, Ling Bai woke up slightly drunk. The Divine Bailey's wine? There is also a box wine that can actually gain access to different dimensions. WTF. By the way, why did I think of turning Bailey into wine just now? Ling Bai himself couldn't figure it out. Immediately, he said to the system in his mind, why does drinking Bailey's wine enhance the domineering power of seeing, hearing, and color? Ding, hasn't he the host ever heard of eyes open when seeing money? What kind of logic is this? Is it possible that if I drink more Bailey's wine, I can predict the future by seeing, hearing, and seeing? Ling Bai said disdainfully. Ding, hasn't he the host ever heard that money can determine a person's future? You can still listen to the sounds of all things, right? Ding, hasn't he the host ever heard that there are no problems in the world that money can't solve, and if there are, there just isn't enough money? Hearing the sound, Ling Bai nodded thoughtfully. It seems that this is the case. Ugly capitalism. With his heart filled with disdain for money, Ling Bai moved his hand across the other boxes and quickly transformed the remaining 200 million Baileys into 2 pots of divine Bailey's wine. On the side, Jun's eyes almost popped out. Ling Bai, stop it. Jun tried to stop it, but it was too late. When she grabbed Ling Bai's hand, the entire 300 million Baileys had turned into 3 pots of ugly wine. Ha ha ha, be surprised. I still have many secrets. Ling Bai didn't waste any time and drank the box of wine that allowed him to gain a different dimension in one gulp. Then, he opened another pot of divine Bailey's wine and drank it happily. Sure enough, it smells dirty. So delicious. What a bullshit secret. Isn't it the superhuman ability to brew fruit? It can turn anything it touches into wine. The teacher has already analyzed it. Jun said, feeling a little distressed. That was a full 300 million Baileys, enough for her to equip the entire warship with the best equipment from the inside out to create a giant-level super warship. Unexpectedly, this guy turned me into several jugs of wine. What a big loss. A question mark appeared on Ling Bai's head. Is that what they thought? However, Ling Bai naturally wouldn't explain it, not to mention that now, there is such a delicious wine. You just know how to drink. Jun said angrily, one mouthful of yours is worth at least 10 million Baileys. The more he talked, the more Jun felt distressed. Money is nothing. Wine is king. When I make money in the future, I will turn all Baileys into wine. Ling Bai said cheerfully. TCH. You can be proud now. When you wake up, I'll see how you regret it. Jun really didn't like the drunk Ling Bai. He simply closed his eyes, picked up Ling Bai and walked out, extremely brave. I haven't got the wine yet. Ling Bai quickly stretched out his hand and put the other 2 bottles of Divine Bailey's wine into the new space. Seeing this, Jun's eyes narrowed. What a quick trick! She had heard that Ling Bai could do magic. But even she couldn't see where Ling Bai had put the wine. He was indeed quite capable. This boy, apart from loving to drink, is good at everything. Jun glanced at Ling Bai secretly. Gently, he pursed his lips and smiled. Then he regained his cold expression, carried Ling Bai, and disembarked from the warship. Chapter 44, Depressing Meeting. Let's not talk about Jun and Ling Bai for now. In the Navy headquarters building, Zeph stepped on the city wall cannon and jumped all the way up to a high place. Through the glass of the Marshal's office, you can see Marshal Kong, Chief Staff He, and General Sengoku sitting on the conference table, all looking at him. What could it be? Zeph narrowed his eyes slightly. Immediately, he used the moon step, kicked his feet back, directly stepped on the air, and shot away with electricity. There was a crisp sound. Zeph's body broke through the conference room glass and rushed into the room. In the room, there were also Sakaski, Porisalano, and Kuzan. The 3 lieutenant generals sat slightly behind, all staring at him. Zeph grinned, patted the glass shards on his body, and sat across from Warring States as if he had never done anything. Zeph, isn't there a door over there? The cost of glass repair will be deducted from your allowance. He said calmly. Zeph did not reply and turned to look at the head of the meeting. The man sitting there is old but still very strong, with a broad chest, tawny skin, and white hair and beard shaped like a mountain. It is the Marshal of the Navy headquarters, Cyborg Sora. Kong held his strong arms in front of him. When Zeph broke through the window just now, his expression did not change at all. Now that everyone is here, let's start conveying the content of the World Government meeting at this time. Kong kept a straight face and motioned for everyone to browse the documents in front of him. Zeph opened the file and read it word by word. Just halfway through seeing it, Zeph suddenly exerted force on his hand. The originally flat document paper had many wrinkles. The expressions of the other people also changed in different ways, but they quickly hid their inner fluctuations and could not see their thoughts. Opposite Zeph, Warring States seemed to have known what was in the document for a long time. From beginning to end, he glanced at Zeph intentionally or unintentionally, his eyes meaningful. Finally, when Zeph read the last word of the document, he crumpled the document into a ball. The conference room was very quiet, and the sound of shuffling paper was clearly audible, which was particularly harsh. Swish! The paper ball suddenly turned completely black, like a cannonball. He shot out of his hand with lightning speed and shot into the air. Snapped! Sora raised his hand like lightning, catching the paper ball with his bare hands without even using his armed haki. But behind the empty seats, many cracks suddenly burst out on the solid floor. Zeph! Calm down! He shouted. Bang! Zeph stood up and shouted, I wanted to resign, but you wanted to keep me here, but now you show me this, what do you want? Are you disgusting me? This sentence was obviously said to Sora. It wasn't loud, but it doubled the pressure in the room. It's so scary. Porisalano curled his lips and tried to talk to Kuzan, but Kuzan kept a straight face and ignored him at all. Kong gently put down the paper ball, looked deeply, and said, This is not my decision, but the meaning of the world government. I don't care whose decision it is. Pirates are pirates. If they are legalized, then where is the Navy's position? Where is justice? Zeph stared at Sora unceremoniously. He reached out and pulled, and the cloak of justice was thrown to the ground. These issues have been discussed intensely at the Quadrennial World Conference. In the end, the kings of each country voted and passed the King's Shishibukai plan with an absolute advantage. Kong didn't specifically answer Zeph. His eyes swept over everyone present. Isn't it right? The information in the document shows that Shah Crocodile was recruited as the Shishibukai before the World Conference. How do you explain this? Zeph asked. Before Kong could answer, Sengoku said, Before any plan is fully implemented, certain experimental actions will always be taken. Sengoku, shut up. Zeph interrupted Sengoku's words and said unceremoniously, Song, tell me yourself. You. Zhangguo was furious, but was slapped on the back by a hand. Looking back, He Zheng was looking at her kindly. On the throne, Sora said, Sengoku is right, Crocodile was just an experiment in advance. If there were no successful examples, those kings would not have agreed to recruit the King Shishibukai. While talking, a pile of newspapers was thrown onto the conference table. Every front page headline is news about the hero king of the desert. The words of praise are undoubtedly a positive image of resisting pirates and defending the country. You want me to believe these fabricated news? Zeph laughed. Sand Crocodile became famous very early in the New World. He is cruel and murderous. He doesn't even have any companions to follow him. Do you think I will believe that he can do good? It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. It's enough for the world to believe it. Sora finally looked at Zeph. The two looked at each other, one side was like an erupting volcano, and the other side was like a calm sea. Song, you are really out of your mind. If the Navy and pirates are colluding, can the world still have true justice? Zeph said, slapping the table. On the side, Sakazuki spoke up. In order to safeguard justice, you can use any means. Even if you make pirates legal, it is just to better fight against crime. As soon as he finished speaking, a pure black hand appeared in Sakazuki's field of vision. Since when do you have a voice here? Zeph struck out in anger and punched Sakazuki in the face. Bang! Sakazuki flew up from his seat, creating a big crater in the wall, with gravel flying and dust and smoke flying everywhere. After the dust settled, part of Sakazuki's face turned into lava. The central area where Zeph hit him was slightly dented, and he suffered serious injuries. Zeph stood up straight and glared. Sakazuki sat inside the broken wall, looking at Zeph with the same gloomy expression, but didn't say another word. Seeing this, Crane shook his head. I think what Sakazuki said makes sense. Sengoku said again, the so-called Shishibukai only gives the pirates a little sweetness, but the real purpose is to make them fight among themselves and consume something. In the final analysis, but it's just a way to uphold justice. Humph, that's nice to say. Do you think those villains are fools? Zeph snorted coldly, never believing that pirates would sincerely work for the world government, and instead said, I don't care what you are thinking, but if you insist on making pirates legal, I will resign from my position and quit the Navy. Hearing these words, Warring States smiled imperceptibly in his eyes. Calm down, Zeph. He said again. On the main seat, Sora finally stood up. Admiral, you have mastered too many secrets of the Navy. You should know that I will not agree. Back then, when I retained your military rank and asked you to step aside to teach the young Navy, you should have understood an attitude. Even if you die gloriously in the line of duty and lie in your grave, this Navy uniform will be your most important burial gift. At the end of the sentence, Sora finally became stern. The already depressing atmosphere became even more solemn at this time. Chapter 45. Major General Jiaji. In the Marshal's office, no one spoke anymore because of Kong's words. It's just a meeting. It's all for justice. If you have anything, we can discuss it. They smoothed things over like a good old man during the Warring States period. Then he helped Sakazuki to his position with a smile on his face. But everyone present had their own thoughts, and no one paid him any attention. No one spoke, and for a moment he looked even more dignified. Even though we were indoors, there seemed to be dark clouds hovering around us, and the depressing atmosphere made people breathless. Compared to here, Jun, who was carrying Ling Bai, also looked depressed. Hello. Jun-chan, my sexy little bomb. After I heard that you were back, I immediately dropped everything just to express my burning love to you. Please date me. A wretched-looking marine stopped in front of Jun, holding a bouquet of 99 roses in his hand and kneeling on one knee. Look, Major General Cake is confessing his love to Major General Jun again. How many times has this happened? Major General Jiaji is really persistent. What do you know? Even if Major General Jun's heart is a stone, one day it will be warmed by Major General Cake. The Marines whispered and started gossiping from their respective positions. Middle. And hearing these voices, Jun not only wasn't happy at all, but instead deepened his dislike of Cake. Change. Without even looking at Jiaji, he walked away directly. Groob. Ha ha ha, look, I was rejected again. It's okay. Major General Jiaji has long been used to it. He will only become more courageous with every setback, and he will fight again and again after repeated defeats. Look, apart from roses, Major General Jiaji seems to have some backup plans. Amid the discussion, the floor in front of Jun suddenly exploded. Then something like a stage rose up. At the same time, lights, flower petals, and music appeared together, and the huge formation immediately attracted the attention of many people. Jiaji calmly came to the center of the stage and took out a violin, thinking he was very elegant. 1. My little sweetheart, I heard that you like music, so I practiced a very difficult song for today to express my love for you. 0. After saying that, Jiaji started his performance. 5. The melody is long and slow, and the gaiji is played carefully and the performance is very engaging. 5. That sounds great. I didn't expect Major General Jiaji to have such a talent. He must have worked hard secretly for this confession. And the performance is very immersive, the movements are coordinated, and it looks so elegant. I am fascinated by it. Both the Navy and the Navy family members who were watching were full of words of admiration at this time. At this moment, an extremely discordant voice sounded. Wah! The loud sound of vomiting clearly reached everyone's ears. Following the sound, everyone saw that Ling Bai, who was being carried on Jun's shoulders, was retching uncomfortably. Hey! Don't spit on me! Jun quickly put Ling Bai down. Ling Bai said drunkenly, I was hugged well at first, but why did you suddenly strangle my stomach? Hearing the sound, Jun reacted. Because of his disgust towards Jiaji, he unconsciously exerted force on his hands, which seemed to be pressing on Ling Bai's stomach. Etc. Who hugged you? Jun blushed. That's carrying. But Ling Bai turned a deaf ear and complained to himself, I ate too much at noon, and now I feel like vomiting. No, I have digested everything I ate at noon. It seems like something else made me sick. As soon as he finished speaking, the action on the stage froze. But what's even weirder is that the violin sound doesn't stop. Telephone bug recording. Some attentive people discovered this and immediately sneered at Jiaji. However, due to the dignity of his rank as Major General, no one uttered a word of rebuke, but the praises fell into the sea and disappeared. Without the noise, the violin sound is more obvious. Yes. That's the sound. Who is scratching the glass with their nails? Ling Bai stood up unsteadily and looked around vaguely. The sound was so loud that everyone present could hear it clearly. What did you say? A vein popped out on Kaji's forehead, and he raised his head to look at Jun and Ling Bai for the first time. When he was performing just now, in order to show the best handsome angle, his head was always looking down at 45 degrees, and Jun was not even noticed when he was carrying Ling Bai. Can't you all hear such an unpleasant and harsh sound? Ling Bai showed a disgusted expression. Blatantly questioning everyone. Damn it! Who is this kid? He's just a corporal, how can he tell the truth? I don't know, I've never seen him, but he won't be able to survive in the Navy headquarters like this. How dare you offend Major General Jiaji, we should retreat further to avoid being affected. As soon as he finished speaking, Jiaji disappeared from the same spot. Where he was standing just now, there was only the lonely violin. The other person, on the other hand, approached Ling Bai at extremely fast speed and kicked Ling Bai in the face with his clogs-wearing feet. But before the kick hit, there was a flash of cold light, and Jiaji, who was aware of it, quickly leaned back, narrowly avoiding Jin Palao's throat seal. After 2 backflips, Cake stood up again and looked at Jun in disbelief. He said sharply, you actually want to kill me for an outsider. Please be careful with your words. I have nothing to do with you. Jun said coldly. And? How am I an outsider? Ling Bai said shakingly. His hand quietly hooked on Jun's shoulder. Seeing this, Jiaji's eyes almost popped out. He didn't know how many days and nights he had been looking forward to that position. Why? I obviously love you so much, but you abandon me like a shoe. Jiaji's eyes were filled with tears. Hearing the sound, many people in the crowd started pointing at Jun. They all sided with Jiaji. Don't you know the reason why I hate you? Jun held up Jinpira flatly and said, regardless of your appearance, I despise your hypocrisy and pretentiousness even more. Where am I being hypocritical? Where am I being artificial? Jiaji said aggrievedly. Humph. Don't give up yet. Jun snorted coldly and said to the side, those guys who mingled in the crowd and collected money, don't think I don't know. If you don't leave within 3 breaths, you will die. Along with the words, a circle of wind and waves shot out from under Jun's feet. The unreserved killing intent made everyone feel like they were standing barefoot in the snow, and the bone-chilling feeling was like facing death directly. 1. Jun started counting. 2. Before the last number was counted, the crowd dispersed and fled in all directions. Only a few people who were really watching the show were stunned for a long time, then looked at Jun and ran away in shame. The number of professional audiences bribed by Kaji was astonishingly large. A snap! The sound of biting senbei was heard. Garp stood alone not far away, grinning, "I just came to watch the show, and I definitely didn't charge any money." Then, Garp added, "Kaji, you are really willing to." Chapter 46. Kicked away. Kaji was exposed, but there was no embarrassment on his face. Standing there, as if nothing had happened. "Jun, I did this. It's all for you," Kaji said bitterly. "Get lost." Jun yelled directly, not giving him any face. "Why can't you understand me?" Kaji was still pestering. This made Ling Bai unable to watch. He walked to the front, protected Jun behind him, and said drunkenly, "You. Are your ears decorations? Jun just told you to get lost. Who the hell are you?" Kaji had long disliked Ling Bai. He was trying hard to win over Jun, and this drunk boy was adding fuel to the fire and ruining his plans. "Don't interrupt me while I'm confessing, or I'll kick you away," Kaji said fiercely. Hearing this, Ling Bai didn't say anything nonsense, and kicked his feet, directly stomping on a large area of the floor behind him. "Hey!" Garp, who was watching the show, stopped eating and stared at Ling Bai with a little surprise. At the same time, Ling Bai accelerated violently like a cannonball. He and Kaji drew a straight line, and the ground along the way was all lifted up. Swish! Like a demon suddenly appeared. Ling Bai's face without any emotion appeared in front of Jiaji, and a whip kick that stirred up a storm directly hit Jiaji's face. Humph! Such a loud kick, do you think I can't react? Overestimating yourself. Jiaji raised his clogs, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Zhu Tu Meng kick. Kick against kick, Jiaji is ready to fight back. Even if steel receives my kick, it will be pierced. Repent, you brought this upon yourself. Jiaji sneered in his heart. Before he finished speaking. Suddenly, he felt a strong wind pressure rushing to his feet. The pressure was so huge that it was difficult to describe, and his kick was interrupted for a time. What? What? Jiaji was shocked. The legs haven't touched yet, and the wind pressure alone has such power? What level of kick is this? What's more terrifying is that the power of the wind pressure is still increasing in the next moment. The kicking moves he was proud of were directly interrupted, and even his legs were forced back by the wind pressure. His observation haki was fully opened. Kaji was shocked to find that Ling Bai's whip kick seemed to have lifted up the whole world, which was extremely terrifying. This kick is so terrifying. His thoughts just arrived here, and Kaji subconsciously changed to a defensive posture. Iron block pig wall. However, all analysis and actions are in vain. In the face of absolute strength, any moves will be destroyed like paper. Boom! Like a missile exploded on the ground. After Ling Bai's leg landed, a mushroom-like dust rose from the ground. The entire Navy headquarters was shaken violently. What's the noise? The depressed marshal's office was slightly relieved by this shock. Everyone, including Sora, stood up and looked out the window. On the ground, Garp, who was watching the show, even forgot to chew senbei, and stared at the dust. The next second, Kaji flew out from the mushroom cloud. His speed was so fast that it rushed straight to the headquarters building. Bang! Kaji crashed through the iron wall and rushed directly into the marshal's office. The conference table was smashed to pieces, and everything he touched along the way was destroyed. His body directly crashed through the entire marshal's office, and then deeply embedded into the wall. After a series of destruction sounds, he finally stopped. Seeing this scene, Sakisuke's pupils shrank slightly. The building of the Navy headquarters was reinforced with steel plates. Even if Zeph punched him hard, at most he would only make a hole, but now this person who flew in, made a deep hole. Is Kaido here again? Kong's expression changed a little. He walked a few steps to the fresh gap and looked down at Marineford. Behind him, Sengoku, Crane, and Zeph also followed him out. Staring at the square, the extremely eye-catching mushroom cloud immediately attracted their attention. Although they were far away, their perception was very strong and they immediately discovered something. Garb. Sengoku narrowed his eyes. Jun. Tsuru was also stunned. Only Zephyr widened his eyes, thinking in his heart that something was wrong. I'll go down and take a look. Zephyr jumped down from the tall building. At this moment, a beam of light passed him and shot directly into the mushroom cloud. Oops! Zephyr thought to himself that it was not good. His footsteps were even faster. Borsellino relied on the speed advantage of the shining fruit and landed in the center of the field in the blink of an eye. His observation haki spread out and soon discovered Ling Bai's movements. Who are you? Why did you make such a terrible noise? Borsellino pushed his sunglasses and couldn't see anything clearly. Suddenly, he smelled a strange smell. He sniffed it lightly, and it was a strong smell of alcohol. Someone wants to kick me away, so I'll kick him away first. Ling Bai said hidden in the dust. Hearing the young voice coming from the smoke, Borsellino was a little surprised. The opponent's physical body was strong in his observation haki perception. He thought it would be a tough guy he had seen before, but he didn't expect it to be so young. But no matter who it was, he needed to catch this person and hand him over to the higher UPS for punishment. Are you good at kicking? I don't know. Have you ever been kicked at the speed of light? After teasing, Borsellino had already kicked. Photons condensed on the calf, and kicked out at the speed of light. Light speed kick. Swish! A sound like a laser. The smoke was directly pierced and shot towards the sea in the distance, causing a huge explosion. But to Borsellino's surprise, he didn't feel that he was kicked. This person's observation haki is well trained. At such a close distance, he was able to dodge his light speed kick. But before Borsellino had time to think about it, suddenly, a terrifying wind pressure approached. With the force of thunder, he kicked his leg at once. With a loud bang, the whole leg was crushed into light elements, and his entire lower body was also involved. And when he was there, Borsellino felt the horror of this kick. The power was very terrifying, directly breaking the earth, and the fragments of the explosion were scattered, which was more powerful than bullets. In a short period of time, he was pierced by the fragments thousands of times, and he didn't even dare to break away from the light element. As Marineford shook again, a new mushroom cloud slowly rose from under his feet. This! Borsellino was a little lazy at first, but now he was so shocked that he couldn't speak. Hey! A light exclamation came from the smoke. It seemed that he was puzzled that he couldn't kill Borsellino with one blow. In the blink of an eye, Borsellino could feel that the man was approaching again. Bang! 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 One kick after another, he greeted Borsellino without reservation. Mushroom clouds rose and fell one after another. The field of vision is becoming increasingly unclear. Chapter 47. Do you dare to draw your sword? Borsellino's mind has been completely shaken. In the perception of sight, hearing, and color, the other party's form no longer resembles a human form at all. A series of lightning-fast kicks, as if the entire space was agitated. It was precisely because Borsellino was also an expert in kicking that he realized that the kicks of the man in front of him had reached a terrifying level. With pure physical strength, he actually unleashed a terrifying attack comparable to the devil fruit's power. Who is this person? While he was thinking, another kick hit him in the head. Borsellino's head was directly blown open and disintegrated into countless photons. However, before the photons could regroup on the human face, he was kicked again, and the prototype's head was blown open again. Are you provoking me? For natural types, headshots mean nothing at all. But again and again, it was like a direct slap in the face, and Borsellino couldn't stand it. Tian Kong Yun Sword. Since you are being overpowered in terms of kicking skills, there is no need to remain in a stalemate in the areas where your opponent is good at. The rich light element fluctuates in the dust and smoke, and the photons converge into a sword of light. Borsellino is ready to regain some ground in the swordsmanship. 0. Sword. 0. There was another soft cry in the dust and smoke, which seemed to be a bit unexpected. You actually have the courage to draw your sword in front of me. 6. Hearing the sound, Borsellino felt that the other side was a little arrogant. Could it be that he thought he could kick Tian Kongyun's sword in pieces? 7. If you don't even know how to use your weapon, using your body to overwhelm the sword, isn't it looking for death? 1. At this time, Borsellino's body was still in elemental form, but some of the photons had gathered into arms. 0. Raising the Tian Kongyun sword high is like the dawn breaking through the darkness and piercing the dust and smoke. 5. Sensing the kick coming again, he slashed with great speed. 5. Swish. Middle. With a sword that illuminated the sky and the earth, the entire dusty smoke was split in half. In the field of vision, like a sliver of sky, a ray of light finally shone in. Change. But Porisalano's expression was terrifyingly gloomy. Groob. Escaped again. He missed. This shows that the opponent's domineering power of knowledge and color has been cultivated to a very high level. As long as he makes a move, the opponent will be alert immediately and change his moves in an instant. At this moment, a pitch-black blade swung vertically. And Porisalano's pupils suddenly shrank to the size of a needle tip. Armed colors. Not only was he shocked that the opponent was a swordsman, but he was even more shocked that the opponent could use armed haki. Armed with haki, the body can attack those with natural abilities. Before, he had seen that the opponent was always hitting his head with kicks, and he thought that the opponent would not be armed. But seeing the blade as black as ink, Porisalano felt a real threat and no longer dared to use the elemental transformation of the natural system to attack indiscriminately. Ding! The swords of Minghong and Tian Kanjiun collided. The sound was crisp but the weight was extremely heavy. Porisalano was directly forced to kneel down on one knee, and his entire knee even collapsed into photons due to the strong pressure again. What a heavy sword! After some weighing, Porisalano realized that the physical load would be too great if he just held on. Once you are forced to elementalize again, you are likely to be hit by the opponent. Drink! With a low growl, Porisalano chose to release his strength. At the cost of giving up Tian Kongyun's sword, he stepped aside. Minghong hit the ground, and the whole earth sank directly. By the light emitted by the Tian Kongyun sword, Porisalano discovered that the ground seemed to have been hit by a meteorite, and a striking crater was directly smashed out. And the dust and smoke that arose again covered up the light that he had finally split open again. Can't see clearly. To be so strong. Porisalano already had the intention to retreat. He took the first step, originally planning to inquire. If you are not strong, you will naturally solve it easily, but since the opponent is so difficult, it is better to let other stronger people come. The Tian Kongyun sword was recondensed in his hand, but Porisalano began to retreat little by little. Want to run? In the dust and smoke, he snorted again. Hearing the sound, Porisalano transformed into a beam of light. Yada mirror. After several consecutive light refractions, he ran away without hesitation. Suddenly, a soft sound sounded. There is no wine or money to send you off. I would like to ask you to drink a glass of Bodhisattva spring. Where can you bow your head and not see me? The four directions are in the same water in heaven. Drunk me, I will flow into the mysteries, the Buddha's crossing, and the abyss of separation. As soon as he finished speaking, Porisalano felt a bright light shine in the dust and smoke. Bursts of Buddha's light penetrated the dust and smoke, even more dazzling than the light element on his body. And just when the Buddha's light shone to its peak, a ray of darkness fell from the sky and appeared very accurately on the path of his escape. A flash of black light cut him in half from head to toe. The next moment, all the light disappeared, and the whole world was once again shrouded in darkness. Ruined. Deep in Porisalano's heart, fear suddenly broke out. The speed of this sword was so fast that he couldn't react at all. And as long as he takes a few steps forward, he can escape from the dust and smoke. But these few steps were like an abyss, isolating him from the outside world. Buddha's crossing farewell abyss. Porisalano's body disintegrated into two halves, but in his mind, he was still recalling the sword move he just heard. At the moment when the Buddha's light came on, he even thought that the Warring States period came to help, but the glimmer of darkness in the light destroyed all hope. Porisalano struggled to reach out his hand, wanting to see the beautiful world again. Suddenly, Zeph's face appeared in front of him. Teacher. Porisalano said softly. Unexpectedly, when he was about to die, the first illusion that appeared in front of him turned out to be Zeph. He couldn't help but recall the days in the training camp. Although it was very difficult, there were also many good memories. What are you doing? Zeph looked at Porisalano, who looked like he was dying, with a strange expression on his face. I'm going to die. Are you going to die? Zeph's tone was even weirder. Yes, I want to. As he spoke, Porisalano suddenly came to his senses. It seemed like a long time had passed since the dark sword fell just now. Feel your own state. It was indeed split in two, but the other half of the body was successfully transformed into light elements without any substantial damage. At this time, the photons were converging on his body bit by bit. I'm not dead. Porosalino stood up suddenly, completely confused. It was obvious that he was split in two by a sharp blade covered in armament colors, so there was no reason for him to survive. I'm not dreaming. Porosalino said subconsciously. Snapped. Zeph slapped Porosalino in the face without mercy. Unlike Ling Bai, Zeph mastered the weapon color skillfully. At this time, a clearly visible 5-finger print appeared on Porosalino's face. Are you awake from the dream? Zeph said coldly. Wake up! Wake up! Porosalino whispered, but then he remembered something. By the way, there are still enemies. Where is the enemy? Snapped. Another slap fell on Porosalino's face. Zeph said sternly, I just see you wreaking havoc here alone, and you have the nerve to say you are going to die? With your level, how can you be qualified to be a general in the future? But Porosalino was stunned by the slap. In fact, he has no idea what the situation is now. But what? The cost of destroying the venue. It will be deducted from your allowance. What? Aren't you convinced? Zeph said and raised his hand again. I accept it. Porosalino said at the speed of light. Just be convinced. Just open your eyes and see if there is anyone here. After speaking, Zeph waved his hand. The wind is blowing. The dust and smoke that spread over a wide area were blown away. Within the radius, apart from Garp who was eating senbei, there was no one else. Chapter 48. What a ghost! When the dust and smoke cleared, Porosalino squinted his eyes and looked around. No. There must have been someone just now. He thought in his mind. Terrifying kicking skills, terrifying slashes, the feeling of life and death as if you were on a journey through hell. It's definitely not an illusion. Until now, his raging blood has not calmed down, and his heart is pounding. But where are people? Seeing, hearing, coloring, and perceiving is extremely peaceful, as if nothing has happened. Only the devastated land showed that some kind of fierce battle had indeed occurred just now. No. It's not a battle at all. Porosalino felt like he was being beaten unilaterally and had no power to fight back. The only thing that he couldn't figure out was why he was still alive when he was clearly split in half by a blade covered in armament colors. Subconsciously, he turned his attention to Garp. Did you see clearly who it was just now? Kopyuka bit off a piece of senbei and turned to look at Zeph. Zeph's eyes were as big as bells, as if warning, and he winked at Garp repeatedly. Hehe, what else does Zeph want to do? Garp thought to himself. He grinned, chewed a few times quickly, and swallowed the senbei. Throwing away the packaging bag, Garp clapped his hands and said, the smoke is too heavy and I can't see anything clearly. Humph! You are an old boy who is sensible. Zeph rolled his eyes at Garp, but on the surface there was no movement at all. Then he took out a piece of white paper from his bag and grabbed Porosalino's hand with lightning speed. What do you want to do? Porosalino resisted subconsciously. However, Zeph did not speak, and his armed domineering energy covered his fingertips. Finger spear stabbing. With a rush of his finger, he cut Porosalino's fingertips, and then printed a bloody mark on the white paper. Done, Zeph nodded with satisfaction. Okay. Sign and pledge, now the money to repair the place. Someone has come out. Zeph put away the white paper with a smile. What? Porosalino looked at Zeph in disbelief. It was a blank piece of paper with nothing written on it. Does this forced signature have any legal effect? Besides, isn't it just to build a place? Navy officers above the rank of lieutenant general have generous government subsidies, and the generals are extremely rich, so why should they pretend to be such a cheapskate? Subconsciously, Porosalino glanced around. Just this level of destruction. As he watched, Porosalino's eyes bulged and he couldn't close his mouth for a long time. Is this still the Navy headquarters? The scope of the damage was so large that the entire ground was thinned by several inches. The ground that had been deliberately reinforced to prevent the attack of the big pirates was now filled with craters one after another. All the steel plates at the bottom of the pit were broken and twisted at horrifying angles, and not far in front of him, there was a huge slash mark extending from the solace of his feet to the coastline, like a chasm. Buddha's crossing farewell abyss. The cry for life sounded in Porosalino's ears again. A shuddering feeling made this talented navy who was used to being lazy suddenly feel his own insignificance. Etc. How can I pay for this? Porisalino turned around suddenly and tried to reason with Zeph. However, when he turned around, there was no trace of anyone anywhere. Not only was Zeph missing, but also Garp, who was watching the battle, was missing. What the hell? Porisalino slapped his forehead and felt a little dizzy. Marineford is the heart of the navy. Every brick and every tile is made of excellent materials. If he was really asked to compensate for this, it would definitely be a massive bankruptcy. At this time, several figures fell down. It turned out that when Sora, Sengoku, and others saw that Porisalino had not returned, they immediately understood that the person causing trouble was not simple. At the speed of light, the battle should be resolved in a matter of seconds. And at the end, the breath that burst out from the dust and smoke made these people jump down from the building themselves and rush to the battlefield. This is. When you visit the center of the site in person, the visual impact is greater than when you look at it from a distance on top of the building. Sakazuki looked at the craters one after another, just like the lava fire he unleashed with all his strength. But that was the power of the devil fruit, but there was no strange aura here. As for Kong, he glanced at the wide slash marks and touched his chin, with a cautious look on his face. He didn't know what he was thinking. Who is causing trouble? Warring States asked. No, I don't know. Porisalino himself felt a little embarrassed to say this. Have no idea. Warring States' voice suddenly became a bit shriller. Didn't you even see clearly? The shining fruit has an absolute visual advantage. Did you rush so fast just now to hide something? Kuzan said coldly. I don't. Porisalino said angrily and glared at Kuzan angrily. He was in a very bad mood now, and Kuzan was still adding insult to injury. You're not in the mood to joke? It seems like it has nothing to do with you. Kuzan remained absolutely calm, and then said to Kong and Sengoku, then it can only be another person who runs fast. Zeph. Sengoku suddenly realized, where is he? He was clearly walking in the front, but he disappeared. Kong asked in a deep voice, what did Zeph do before returning to the Navy headquarters? He knows this best, huh? Where is the crane? Why did he disappear? Sengoku looked around and didn't find any trace of the crane, so he told what he knew. It seems that Gumiya recommended a newcomer to Zeph, and he went to test it himself. Oh? Going out to sea in person. Kong looked at the crater and the slash marks again, and raised the corner of his mouth slightly. It seems that he has recruited a newcomer with good strength. Check his background carefully. If there is no problem, let's stop here for today's matter. What? Sengoku was shocked. He never thought that Kong would be so tolerant of Zeph. This uncharacteristic behavior made Sengoku feel uneasy. After all, in such a sensitive period, Kong's attitude is crucial. Why? Zhangguo was puzzled. Since we can recruit newcomers of this level, Zephyr will definitely agree to the 7 warlords of the sea, and the purpose of my return to the headquarters this time has been achieved. Ah! Zhangguo didn't understand at all. Is there any connection between the newcomers and the 7 warlords of the sea? I'm afraid this newcomer doesn't even know what the 7 warlords of the sea is. Then Zephyr must pay for the cost of the maintenance site. This is caused by his students, and he is fully responsible. Otherwise, anyone will dare to destroy it unscrupulously in the future and break up the discipline of the navy. Zhangguo began to ask for Kong's claim order, and put Zephyr on the hat of destroying discipline without leaving any trace. Kong looked at Zhangguo and said meaningfully, you'd better save yourself from such things as fanning the ears. You should show me in other aspects that you are more suitable to be a marine marshal than Zephyr. Now, he has at least added a pretty good combat force to the navy. But... Zhangguo wanted to say something else. Kong interrupted, as for the repair site, whoever should pay should pay. At this moment, a piece of letter came at Kong's face. Kong raised his hand lightly and dissolved the force calmly. Opening it, Kong looked disdainful, but did not say much, and threw the letter to Zhangguo. It seems that someone has already paid. Then there is nothing to worry about. After saying that, Kong left. Zhangguo took it and took a look. After knowing the content of the letter, he stared at Borsellino in disbelief. Do you admit it? Zhangguo said sharply. I. Borsellino looked bitter. My explanation. Is it still useful? Chapter 49. The Battle of the Generals. Zhangguo and Borsellino argued for a few more sentences. What is going on? Zhangguo asked. Borsellino told everything he felt. The rest of the people listened patiently, and their expressions changed from time to time. Is it really that exaggerated? Are you trying to cover up your incompetence by describing your opponent as so powerful? This time, even Sakaski couldn't believe it. After receiving the cold words from Kuzan and Sakaski, Borsellino was in a terrible mood. Damn it! This Zeph, you are the one who took the blame for the mess he caused. I wonder how much money it will cost for such a big place. Jean Guo stood up for Borsellino. Now that we know the truth, this money. Borsellino is not a greedy person, but the amount of money is really huge. If you don't pay enough fines, you will even be punished. Usually, this kind of punishment is not painful, no one will pay attention to it, and you can offset your merits by spending some merits. But if you want to be promoted to a general, merits are crucial. Borsellino's own merits are very tight, so where can he spare time to care about the punishment? You still have to pay for this money. Jean Guo said seriously. What? Borsellino thought that Jean Guo would find a way to erase the money in order to win his favor. Marshal Kong's words just now have actually concluded this matter. I know the amount of money is huge, you can slowly make it up. As for the punishment, you don't have to worry, I will help you drag it, and it can't be removed. But it's best that you prepare more merits, don't let this little thing affect your future. Hearing this, Borsellino finally understood. For the higher UPS, it doesn't matter who is responsible, as long as someone takes the blame, the ending is the same. In fact, in the process of rising all the way, he has already seen through this point, and it is quite profound. But when it really happens to oneself, it is still hard to accept. When hearing the word future, Kuzan and Sakaski both understood that it refers to the position of admiral. Once Sora is promoted to the commander-in-chief of the entire army, the position of the admiral of the navy will be idle, and there will always be one person in the older generation who will take the position of the admiral of the navy, then the position of the admiral will be vacant. The only thing that is unclear now is how many admiral positions there will be in the future. The most reliable guess at present is that Sengoku will be promoted to marshal, Zeph will retreat to the second line, Garp will still be the vice-admiral, and the three of them will all be pushed to the position of admiral because they are all natural system. The three natural system admirals. Just listening to it is enough to deter pirates. But the problem is, no one dares to guarantee that there will be three admiral positions in the future. If Zeph still holds on to it and asks for real power, it will be even more difficult to say. So, on the surface, there is no friction between the three of them, but in fact, each of them has grudges. Just now, a cold remark from time to time shows that there is also a competitive relationship between the three people. The battle for the admiral. Is merit really that important? In order to fight against pirates, combat power should be the first priority. Sakaski said in a deep voice. If the navy's combat power is insufficient, any punishment or merit can be ignored, even if a person with little fame is promoted to the general. But it's different now. People of our generation still have strong combat power, and you, the backbone of this group, have also grown into top combat power and are capable of great tasks. Look at this again, the newcomers are becoming more and more terrifying, and the strength of the navy is unprecedentedly strong. At this time, if you don't talk about merit, what can you talk about fairness? Sengoku looked around at the three people and continued earnestly. But you must always remember that fighting against pirates is the first priority. Don't be hostile to each other for the sake of fighting for the future. I promise you that as long as I am promoted to marshal, you three will definitely be generals. Hearing this, the three nodded. Each has his own thoughts. Awesome Sengoku, you tied them to the same boat with you in just a few words. Garp appeared again at some point, holding a pile of snacks in his hand, like a mountain. Garp, shut up. I saw you just now, where did you go? Jean Guo spoke first. Zephyr promised to buy me snacks for a year. Here, they are all expensive. Try them. Garp laughed and threw a bunch of snacks over. Kuzan took them in a hurry, Sakaski burned them directly, and Borsellino glanced away unhappily. A year's worth of snacks bought you? You really don't look serious. Jean Guo snorted, but opened the snacks and started eating. He waved his hand, indicating that the three vice-admirals could withdraw first. Then he walked to Garp and whispered. Did you see the new student that Zeph accepted? I can't tell you. Describe it to me, what did you and Zeph say later? Does he attach great importance to that kid? I can't tell you, I can't tell you. I'll give you double what Zeph gives you, tell me now. Hey, who do you think I am? If you want to know, I'll tell you in a year. Garp munched on snacks, looking like he couldn't take anything. No matter how Zhang Guo asked, he didn't say a word. Tell me now. Soft tactics didn't work, so he used hard tactics. Zhang Guo grabbed Garp's neck and threatened him viciously. Ha ha ha, why do you have to ask me? You should have checked the details of that kid a long time ago, right? Garp just laughed. Nonsense. But the information doesn't say that the kid's swordsmanship can reach this level. Zhang Guo glanced at the marks of the slash and was very cautious. That means your own investigation ability is not good enough. I've been bribed anyway, you can do whatever you want. Ha ha ha. Garp looked like he was enjoying the show, and ate snacks leisurely and walked away. Damn it. Zhang Guo threw the snacks given by Garp to the ground and got angry. First Sora, then Garp, how come everyone started to help Zephyr? Weird. Really weird. No. We must do something, this is too passive. Zhang Guo walked away with a gloomy face, unable to let go of the worry in his heart. In another corner of Marineford, Admiral Kong, who had left long ago, was patiently waiting for something. As if he had noticed, he said, have you caught up? They're back to the training camp. A person walked out of the shadows, and it was Crane. Is he really Zeph's student? Kong whispered, with strength above the rank of Vice Admiral. How come he didn't have any achievements before? Isn't he too low-key? That kid likes to drink, and he is addicted to alcohol. He has made merits and mistakes, but his position has never been promoted and his reputation is not prominent. Oh? Does he have any shortcomings? Kong's expression eased a little, it's good to have shortcomings, and it's easier to control with shortcomings. Over there. Why don't you let Zeph pay compensation? Crane asked in confusion. You are well informed, Kong grinned, Zhang Guo's voice has been too high recently. We need to suppress it. Let Zeph give him a sense of threat. If he becomes the marshal so easily, he will become arrogant. But you will still let Zhang Guo become the marshal in the end. He is indeed very suitable. Although Zeph is good, he is a bit rigid and it is difficult to implement the will of the world government. You have to mediate between the two of them. You are the key to the future of the Navy. Tsuru nodded and asked, what about Garp? As for him, pay attention to whether there is any contact with his son. The Navy hero cannot make any mistakes. In other aspects, he is the one who makes me most at ease. Kong said. I understand. For a long time in the future, I will stay in the Holy Land and gradually take over the position of Commander-in-Chief of the entire army. If there is any movement here, you must report to me in time. As soon as the voice fell, Kong disappeared. In front of the crane, there was only a dark den mushy left. Chapter 50. Serenade. No matter what the higher UPS were thinking or planning, our little Ling Bai was very relaxed. At this moment, he was being held in Jun's arms. To be precise, it was a princess hug. No wonder she's called Peach Rabbit. She can really jump. Ling Bai muttered. What did you say? Nothing. Jun carried Ling Bai all the way to the training camp, and according to Zeph's instructions, he came to the chief instructor's office. Then he threw Ling Bai to the ground with a heavy throw. I'm so tired. Jun quickly closed the door and calmed down his excitement. Don't be nervous, I've kicked away everyone who was chasing you. It's just that the one who came later I couldn't hit. It feels like he's also a master of paper painting. Ling Bai took out another pot of wine from somewhere, drank it, and staggered to his feet and collapsed on the sofa. You don't even know who you're fighting. Jun rolled his eyes at Ling Bai, that's Vice Admiral Borsellino, the user of the nature-type flash fruit. You haven't even learned the armament haki, you were just beaten. Really? Was I beaten? Ling Bai scratched his head and grinned, it seems I drank too much, I thought I was beating him. Ha ha ha. Without armament haki, you can't even touch the body of the nature type, you still think you can beat him. Jun said unhappily, Ling Bai, can't you sleep well when you're drunk? Don't make trouble for me again. That can't be helped. Who made that guy keep pestering you before? I just don't like him. Ling Bai said angrily, then took another sip of wine, muttering, as if I did something wrong. Hearing this, Jun remembered. It seems that the beginning of the matter was because Kaji confessed to her, and Ling Bai was just involved for no reason. Hey! Who would have thought that things would turn out like this? Teacher Zeph has gone to finish the work. I hope he won't punish you. Are you really injured? Jun asked. Now that you ask, I feel a little pain here. Ling Bai pointed to his stomach. Where is it? Let me see. Jun hurried over to check, and said, light attacks are not like swords, and paper paintings cannot avoid them. The wound will be burned, so the injury cannot be judged by the bleeding. And you are drunk now, and you are not sensitive to pain. Don't take it lightly. Jun has seen Borsellino's strength. Even if Ling Bai is excellent, it is useless without the armament haki. Lifting Ling Bai's clothes, Jun came up to him and looked at him. Hey! Jun couldn't help but be surprised. This kid is drunk every day, either drinking or on the way to drinking, but he still maintains such a good figure. The bulging muscles are clearly defined, like a coiled dragon, not only good looking, but also hiding explosive power. No, what am I looking at? Jun blushed slightly, and then began to touch carefully. He pressed it, and it was normal. There was no internal injury, and the position of each organ was normal. Does it really hurt here? Jun looked for a long time, but didn't see anything unusual. I don't know, it seems to hurt in the back again. Ling Bai said. Hey? Really? Jun turned Ling Bai over again, lifted up his upper body to check. He touched from bottom to top, and there was no injury. The ribs are not broken, and the spine is normal. It's strange. Jun said confused. It's just uncomfortable anyway. Ling Bai said sadly. This is troublesome. Jun touched his chin, hesitated for a moment, and ordered, take off all your clothes. Wah! What? Ling Bai's eyes widened in shock. Is it so steep? Stop talking nonsense and do it quickly. Get started directly with Jun. The attack of the shining fruit is no joke, not to mention the last burst of light from the dust and smoke, which was obviously Porcelano's ultimate move. The slender hands, surprisingly powerful at this moment, directly took off Ling Bai's pants. Don't be so anxious. Ling Bai said shyly. Of course I'm anxious. Jun said as he pulled off Ling Bai's other clothes. Be gentle to me. Ling Bai closed his eyes, looking like he was at the mercy of others. At this time, the door to the room was pushed open forcefully, and Zeph rushed in with an angry look. But as soon as he entered the door, he happened to find that the two of them looked confused. His face suddenly stiffened. Keep going, I didn't see anything. Bang! The room door was closed again. Hey, today's young people! Hearing the sigh outside the door, Jun finally reacted and bounced off Ling Bai like an electric shock. Her face was as red as a peach, and she never dared to look at Ling Bai. What's wrong? Ling Bai slowly opened his eyes. Put your clothes on. Is this the end? I've seen it and you have no obvious injuries. If you are really uncomfortable, you may have some contusions. Just rest for a few days and you will be fine. Jun's eyes kept avoiding Ling Bai. The expression is a little subtle. Suddenly, a finger gently tapped her back. Jun looked back and saw that Ling Bai had already put on his clothes, but in his hand, a violin appeared from nowhere. Violin? Jun noticed, isn't this the one that Cake placed on the stage just now? When did Ling Bai take it away? What's more, even though you had taken off all your clothes just now, you didn't find any trace of the violin. Jun couldn't understand. I heard you like music. Ling Bai's chin was already placed on the chin rest of the violin. Yet. Jun subconsciously agreed. Do you like something more exciting or something more relaxing? Of course it's exciting. Jun's eyes slowly widened. Shouldn't. Hearing the sound, Ling Bai adjusted the tune and said, then, this G major string serenade is for you. After saying that, Ling Bai's whole temperament suddenly changed. He lifted up his energy and stood up, bowed his instrument, and a sense of elegance emerged spontaneously, instantly attracting Jun's attention. Immediately afterwards, the lively and smooth rhythm and the short and gorgeous eighth note vibrato came out, and everyone in Jun was stunned. The joyful melody sounded in the room, full of bright emotions and youthful atmosphere, making Jun feel like he was 15 or 16 years old again, full of energy. His eyes gradually became intoxicated. Sitting on the sofa, she couldn't take her eyes off, enjoying Ling Bai's performance. Until this moment, she finally understood why Ling Bai said that the sound of Jiaji's piano was scratching the glass with his fingernails. The two's interpretation of music is completely different from the same dimension. When Zeph heard the music outside, he opened the door in a daze. I saw an engaged speaker and an engaged listener in the room, and I couldn't close my mouth for a long time. Holy shit! Are you still a musician? Chapter 51. The person talking to the drunkard. Serenade for Strings in G Major is one of Mozart's most popular works. When Ling Bai drank Binks's wine, his hearing increased significantly and his musical ability was maxed out. And this string music, which I had heard countless times in my previous life, naturally came to my mind and I could pick it up at my fingertips. The first movement ended quickly, and the melody suddenly became gentle and quiet, like a boat rippling, full of endless emotions. And Ling Bai didn't just stand there, he started walking slowly around Jun to the rhythm. The lyrical romantic music constantly stirs the hearts of Jun. Seeing such a scene, Zeph was stunned for a while. He doesn't like music, so the visual sense of music is not as strong as that of Jun. But because of this, he could find that Jun's eyes had not moved away from Ling Bai from the beginning to the end. This brat! He's even good at picking up girls, but he actually made Jun fall. You know, in the past, it was Jun who seduced men, but now, it was Ling Bai who had his attention. He had noticed before that Jun might be interested in Ling Bai, but if things continued at this rate... Tisk, tisk, tisk. Zeph smashed his mouth. Jun is a few years older than Ling Bai, but as the saying goes, a female college student in her third year will receive gold bricks, a female college student in her 30s will receive a country, and a female college student in her third hundred will receive elixirs. Even cranes are chased by young men, let alone those in the navy. Sexy Bum Jun. In the blink of an eye, the third and fourth movements of the serenade were played one after another. The melody was clear and fluent, dancing with carefree emotions, symbolizing happy and perfect love. The cheerful, smooth, simple, and beautiful style is like aged and fragrant wine or rich and fragrant tea, making people refreshed and happy. Finally, when the last note ended, the lingering sound lingered, and the melodious melody seemed to still be echoing in the room. Teacher, why don't you go out for a while? While the atmosphere is just right, I'll get down to business first. Ling Bai didn't know when he came around behind Zeph and whispered. Hearing the sound, Zeph's eyelids twitched sharply. This brat! You bastard! Zeph grabbed Ling Bai's head and smashed Ling Bai's head to the floor, smashing it directly through. A loud bang disrupted the mood of the serenade. Jun came back to his senses from the music, only to realize that Zeph had entered the room at some point. Who turned off the lights? Jun, was it you? Ling Bai's head was under the floor and he said angrily. No, it's not me. Jun replied. Seeing this, Zeph looked at Jun in surprise. You? Zeph couldn't find the adjective. Me? What's wrong with me? Jun shrank his neck, not feeling anything unusual about himself. Do you have to answer anything a drunkard says? When did you like chatting so much? Zeph really couldn't stand it. When Ling Bai was drunk, she talked a lot, and basically no one wanted to pay attention to it, but in Jun, she had to answer everything Ling Bai said. Savor it carefully, and the meaning is self-evident. Jun did not understand the deeper meaning of Zeph's words and said instead. Teacher, Ling Bai has just been taught a lesson by Porisalino. He is probably injured. You'd better not treat him like this. He was taught a lesson. Zeph showed an unprecedented expression. He raised his hand and pulled Ling Bai out from under the floor. The lights are on again. Ling Bai smiled. Look at the way this kid is smiling, does he seem to be at a disadvantage? Zeph pouted. Seeing this, Jun was slightly surprised. From what Zeph meant, could it be that Ling Bai still had the upper hand? But he hasn't even learned armament haki. How can he take advantage of Lieutenant General Porisalino? Thanks to this guy's black sword Minghong. After all, black swords are so rare. Porisalino thought he was covered with armed domineering. When he was hit, he was scared to death. Zeph said in a deep voice. At this moment, a voice came from behind Zeph. Zeph, just laugh if you want. Why pretend to be angry and have a stern face? Hearing this, Zeph's always serious face showed a smile. Crane, you are indeed here. Porisalino's words I'm going to die make Zeph want to laugh now when he recalls it. With such a big commotion, do you still want me to ignore everything? Crane stepped out from behind Zeph. He patted Ling Bai with his hand. Swish! As the light circulated, Ling Bai was excited, and the drunkenness on his body immediately subsided. Then he shook his hands and lifted Ling Bai up. "Are you sober?" he said calmly. "The ability to wash the fruit can even wash away my drunkenness. It's really amazing." Ling Bai broke away slightly and jumped down from the clothes drying pole. You still have strength?" He had a hint of surprise on his face. She had just washed away not only the drunkenness but also her strength. Most people could only hang on the clothes rack and could do nothing but talk. Ling Bai's paper painting has been cultivated to a very high level. He is proficient in unloading and borrowing strength. In addition, he has been drunk for many years and is used to the erratic state. Even if you wash away his strength, it will not hinder his actions at all. Zeph closed the door of the room, sat on the sofa with a smile, and then sneered, "You should save your interrogation of the prisoners." Hearing the voice, Ling Bai showed a look of realization and said to he, "If the criminal loses his strength, his confidence will be weakened a lot. Coupled with some verbal offensives, it is easy to break his defense. He, the chief advisor, has learned a lesson." As he said that, he also sat on the sofa. He even crossed his legs. "You too." He couldn't help but look at Ling Bai twice more. Zeph could guess her intentions, and he was not surprised, but this kid had just sobered up and could analyze her every move immediately. The meticulousness of his mind far exceeds that of his peers. "Jun, why are you standing? Sit down." Ling Bai patted the seat next to him. "Oh." Jun was still immersed in the surprise of his appearance. At this moment, he was called by Ling Bai, nodded, and sat next to Ling Bai. "What?" He, who was always calm, widened his eyes at such a scene. "What did you see?" Zeph smiled maliciously. Ling Bai and Jun looked at each other in confusion. "Did you understand?" "No." Then they both looked at he. The expression on his face changed from time to time. In fact, when she found out that it was Jun who ran away with Ling Bai, she felt something was wrong. But now it seems that the situation is even more serious. After a long time, he calmed down again. "Jun, tell me about G2. Now." Jun was a little embarrassed. "Say it in front of me." Zeph grinned. "You can't have missed it. It's just right. I want to take this opportunity to analyze the situation. I'll say it here, no problem." Chapter 52. A way to quickly accumulate merits. Jun was still embarrassed. At the beginning, she was arranged by he to monitor Zeph. Now she had to tell the content of the monitoring in front of Zeph. How could she open her mouth? "I'd better tell you quietly." Jun moved awkwardly and sat next to he. Then, he told everything he saw and did. While Jun was reporting to he, Zeph whispered to Ling Bai, "Are you really awake? Are you still not confident about his ability? You are so disrespectful. How many people in the Navy dare to call her by her name directly? Anyway, she is going to interrogate me. Why should I respect her? She is Jun's sister." "Dear. More dear than dear," Zeph said quickly. Tsuru treats Jun as his sister, and Jun also recognizes Tsuru as his sister from the bottom of her heart. Everyone in the Navy knows how good their relationship is. "Well, Tsuru's ability is very powerful, I am completely awake," Ling Bai said. "You little brat, you are quite good at changing your attitude. Isn't this the answer you want?" Ling Bai chuckled. "When you are sober, you are indeed thoughtful." Zeph knew that Ling Bai had seen that he was testing him, and changed the subject, saying, "But when you were drunk just now, you made quite a lot of noise." "I know, I remember it clearly, but you should have handled it properly." "How can I handle it properly?" Zeph said with a bitter face, "You have destroyed a large area, and we have to pay a lot of money. I am afraid that we can only barely pay it back by selling you to the Navy for life." "I don't believe it," Ling Bai said. "Really? Otherwise, why did I throw you to the ground just now? It was all because of you." Zeph sighed. "I still don't believe it. It's not a question of whether you believe it or not, but the facts are right in front of you." Zeph had a tone of disappointment. "Your heartbeat is speeding up," Ling Bai said suddenly. "What?" Zeph was startled. "When I said this, your heartbeat was even faster." Ling Bai smiled. "You are lying." On the side, Crane, who was listening to Jun's report, turned around and interrupted, "Zeph dragged Borsellino into the water, and someone else took the blame for you." "Okay, I will thank him in person when I have a chance. Ling Bai nodded gently. Crane, listen to your report, don't answer. Zephyr rolled his eyes at Crane, and then continued to say to Ling Bai, you told me before that you didn't want to attract attention from above, but now, the eyes of the entire Navy headquarters have fallen on you. Look, even Crane came in person, and he has to monitor you even if he listens to the report. What should I do? This is also good. Ling Bai suddenly said. How come it's fine? It's not fine at all. Zeph seemed very angry. You just wanted to flatter me and make others jealous and find fault with me. Ling Bai said speechlessly. Zeph's eyes lit up, and he wanted to listen. What about now? Now, I kicked the Major General and stabbed the Vice General with a knife, and everyone in Marinfondo knows about it. I think, even in the training camp, no one will be blind enough to pick a fight with me. For me, this result is better than low-key. That makes sense. Borsellino is a candidate for the Admiral. Once the truth gets out, few people dare to provoke you. However, you miscalculated a little. We are going to block the news, and no one knows that you did it. Zeph smiled cunningly. No, you won't block the news. What did you say? Zeph was stunned. Strictly speaking, not only will you not block it, you will even publicize it and use me to stimulate the 3 vice admirals. Let them know that there are still many excellent people in the Navy, so they dare not take it lightly. You really dare to analyze it? Who do you think you are? Shameless. Zeph said angrily. Just tell me if my analysis is right. Ling Bai said impatiently. He continued, we did plan to do so. Staff officer, he is still straightforward. I admire you. Ling Bai said with a bow. Flatterer. Zeph muttered, but you are just a corporal now, without any merits, where do you get the right to speak and the sense of threat? It seems. You have already thought of a way for me to accumulate merits quickly? After going through such a big circle, it turns out that this is your real purpose. Ling Bai stared at Zeph, slightly raising his head. Hey! How can your perception be so sharp? It seems that you can read my mind. Zeph was slightly surprised. Once or twice, perhaps it was because Ling Bai had a strong analytical ability, but every time Ling Bai could see through his intentions, which shows that in addition to his excellent analytical ability, this kid also has a strong perception ability. Perception can guide people's subconsciousness in the dark, so as to make judgments. This is also the fundamental reason why many masters can change their tactics in 1 second without thinking. Tell me. What is the method? I heard that when you become a lieutenant general, the reward will change qualitatively. Ling Bai asked. Hearing this, before Zeph opened his mouth, Jun, who was reporting, took over and said, that's true. When I become a lieutenant general, I will pay you back 100 million Baileys in a minute. What? You owe him so much money? He was also stunned. What kind of deal did you make? Don't worry, I was just about to tell you. Jun continued, this happened after leaving G2. He nodded repeatedly, and his expression was also very wonderful. Did he really let him go? Yes. Then I have to visit this chef Jeep in the East Blue Sea in the future. He said, looking up and glancing at Ling Bai. Ling Bai also smiled slightly and stared at her. When the time comes, you should not have to pay for the meal if you report my name. Let's talk about this later. Let me talk to you about business first. Zeph said to Ling Bai seriously, today, we went to a meeting. Zeph. He stood up suddenly, with no expression on his face, but everyone could feel a momentum that could not be resisted. Instantly, there was silence. Come out with me. He said. Gulp. Everyone swallowed their saliva. Zeph followed him out obediently. Ling Bai approached Jun again. She looks very kind, but it turns out that's just an appearance. Ling Bai complained. Sister, he is very thoughtful, even I can't see through her. Jun shook her head. That's right, how can you become a naval chief of staff without something? By the way, don't let that slip. I didn't drink, don't worry, it's okay. Ling Bai assured. Outside the door, he and Zeph came out. Zeph, who dared to shoot at the air in the marshal's office before, now looked very well behaved. Zeph, what do you want to do? Chapter 53. The best whetstone. Faced with his doubts, Zeph grinned. Of course I am preparing to take advantage of the King Shishibukai plan. Don't you disagree? He said solemnly. Is my power useful? It seems that Kong respects my opinion, but in fact he just came to inform me that the king's Shishibukai will become a reality sooner or later. Zeph sighed. That's not now. The official documents haven't come down yet, so you and I should keep it a secret. You want to wait for the rice to be cooked, right? Even if there are some strange sounds by then, the Shishibukai under the king has matured and no one can reverse it. Sora was also worried that I would cause unrest by making fishing boats, so he deliberately waited for me to hold a meeting. What he did, just to confirm my attitude. Zeph snorted coldly. The power of the fishing boat is terrifying. You have only been in contact with Ling Bai for a long time. How do you know his attitude towards pirates? What if he hates pirates more than you do? I still question his overall view. He said solemnly. Since he can let that jeep go, his attitude towards pirates is at least friendlier than mine. As for the overall situation, as long as you don't drink, it's still possible. Zeph said unbendingly. What if it's acting? I know people, faces, but not hearts. Would a person who deliberately disguises himself drink alcohol for a long time? Ling Bai is much more transparent than dirty people like us. Zeph gritted his teeth and said angrily. It could also be because he was drunk and talked nonsense. The plan will always change if it is revealed. Anyway, you are not allowed to tell him in advance. He grabbed Zeph's collar and spoke in a domineering tone, completely different from her usual self. Then I will take him out to sea immediately. Anyway, the Navy headquarters is not suitable for training him. I wanted Ling Bai and Smoker to check and balance each other before. Now it seems that Smoker cannot be Ling Bai's opponent. After the Polo Salino incident, many of Zeph's plans for Ling Bai had to be changed. For example, train Ling Bai in a land with a diameter of 2 kilometers in the residential area. Now think about it, with Ling Bai's destructive power, his hands and feet will be restricted. Checks and balances. Inexplicably, when he heard these two words, his heart skipped a beat. Before, Sora also said that Zeph should be used to check and balance the warring states period. She never thought that Zeph's scheming could reach the same level as Kong. In order to cultivate the talents you like, you will go to great lengths just to choose the best whetstone. Why aren't you talking? Zeph asked in confusion when he saw he was suddenly in a trance. I don't agree with you doing this anyway. He quickly returned to normal, organized his words, and continued. I know that the Shishibukai under the king plan requires manpower to contact pirates, and I also know that it contains rich opportunities. I also know that now Ling Bai has fully attracted the attention of us senior leaders. If he doesn't have enough voice quickly, he will be easily suppressed by the warring states period. You don't want to lose someone who can help you compete for the position of marshal. But the stakes in Wangxia Kaiwahei are very important. Once successful, the pressure on the navy will be greatly reduced, and we can devote more troops to the New World to fight against those pirate emperors. Do you really understand the interests involved? At the end of the sentence, his voice couldn't help but rise a little higher. However, it is still restrained within a small volume range. Humph! Stop trying to trick me, Crane. I said, I just want to teach my students well. And it's too late to say anything now. Zeph curled up into a sneer and walked to the door of the office again. Pushing the door open, he said inside. Ling Bai, do you understand? You speak so loudly. It's hard not to hear. Hearing Ling Bai's voice coming from the room, his face became quite ugly. He walked to the door in a few steps and looked inside in disbelief. Jun, did you hear something? No. No. He trusted Jun very much, and when he heard this, he immediately suspected that Zeph was deceiving her. It's about the King's 7 martial arts. Because I have to contact pirates and have the opportunity to make meritorious deeds, I can quickly have the right to speak. Ling Bai said simply. But every word hit his heart hard. What Ling Bai said was clearly a summary of her original words. Ling Bai's hearing is very strong. You think you are so quiet that no one can hear you, but the fact is that you explained everything clearly for me. Zeph said coldly. He gritted his teeth in discomfort and said, Jun, why didn't you tell me such important information? I don't know either. She felt something, but she didn't take it seriously at all. What she knows is what I want her to know. Crane, now that Ling Bai has heard about the King's Kaiwahei plan, what are you going to do? Then lock up all the liquor in the entire Navy headquarters. Guarded heavily. After the crane finished speaking, he left majestically. Looking at Crane's back, Zeph looked at Jun strangely. Didn't you tell he about the power of Ling Bai's devil fruit? The Superman-type brewing fruit can turn anything it touches into wine. For Ling Bai, locking up the wine is useless. I haven't had time. Jun said bitterly. She originally planned to introduce the power of the devil fruit when she told the story of 300 million belly turned into wine, but Crane didn't give her a chance to tell that story. Before that incident, Ling Bai's characteristics had nothing to do with devil fruit, and it was difficult to bring up the topic cleverly. After all, Ling Bai is good at so many things, but devil fruit is not the biggest highlight. It's too late to say it now. We don't want to start a big fight. Zeph motioned to Jun to pursue him. Forget it, with Sister He's efficiency, it's probably already started. Jun said. As soon as he finished speaking, the phone in the office rang. Puff, puff. Zeph frowned slightly and picked up the phone. Report. The voice on the other end was loud. Speak. Just now, a group of Navy from the headquarters rushed into the training camp and carted away all the wine in the warehouse. Since there is no order from you, I quickly report. Teacher. Do you want to fight? The other end seems eager to try. Beat me. That's Crane's order, let me go. Yes. Beep. Zhong hung up the phone, and Zeph shook his head with a headache. Ling Bai touched his chin and said in surprise, as expected of the Navy headquarters, they are really well trained. Stop being so sarcastic and sarcastic. He's so serious. He's actually being serious. I guess all the warehouses and stores in the headquarters are being looted right now. Zeph said angrily. I'd better go tell Sister He. Jun smiled bitterly and stood up. It was hard for her to imagine how wonderful the expression on He's face was when he knew the truth. But even if you can't bear it, the truth is more important. After glancing at Ling Bai, Jun stepped out and reported to He. Seeing this, Zeph said, I have to make arrangements too. Ling Bai, you have a good rest first. If nothing happens, we will go to sea again soon. Leaving again. Ling Bai felt that his butt was not yet hot from sitting. There has been a temporary change. I originally wanted to introduce you to a few companions, but it seems we can only get to know each other slowly. If you need anything, call me on the phone. Zeph threw a little phone bug to Ling Bai. Then he swayed and disappeared from the door. Chapter 54. Black Sil Tina. After the two left, the room suddenly became deserted. Are you starting to recruit the king's Shishibukai? Ling Bai was lying on the sofa, recalling characters one after another in his mind. Every pirate who can be recruited by the world government is a famous person on the sea, and in the future, he will become an important auxiliary force against the four emperors. I don't know who I will go to first. With no skills at his disposal, Zeph could only lead him to conquer a few of them. Besides, we don't know who the candidates for the Shishibukai are yet, so it might be a waste of time. It depends on Zeph's ability to screen candidates. If his vision is a little worse, I can personally help him analyze it. The corners of Ling Bai's mouth slightly curved. Knowing the plot of the original work, he certainly knows who will eventually become the king of the Shishibukai. This is an absolute advantage beyond any analysis. After resting for a while, Ling Bai sat up from the sofa. Hey! So boring. For Zeph and Jun, they had been sailing for several days, tired from traveling, and worried about Ling Bai. When they returned to the Navy headquarters, they would definitely want to sleep with him for a whole day and a night. But Ling Bai was different. He rarely was truly awake, half asleep and half awake, fully rested. Even to the training camp, Jun brought him there, so tired. After just wandering around the office for a few times, Ling Bai felt like he was about to get sick. Sure enough, days without wine are so boring. Just about to go out to find a drink. Bang bang bang. There was a knock on the door at the office. Ling Bai opened the door as fast as lightning to see who was coming. Standing at the door was a beautiful girl with pink hair, delicate makeup, and stern eyes. Are you Ling Bai? The beauty said with one hand on her hips. The words are not friendly. Yo? Why are you so fierce? Have we seen him before? Ling Bai joked. A smoker is enough to give me a headache. Now here comes an alcoholic like you. How do you want me to look good? The beauty seemed to dislike seeing Ling Bai, but she still extended a hand and said, let me introduce myself. My name is Tina. I am a second-year student in the training camp. Teachers F arranged for me to take you to your room. From now on, we will be a team. Of. So he's a classmate. You must have some misunderstanding about me. Ling Bai smiled and stretched out a hand. Click. Before touching Tina's hand, a circle of black cuffs extended from Tina's hand and locked it on Ling Bai's hand. Then Tina waved her hand, and the black cuff chain seemed to come alive, cuffing Ling Bai's other hand. Ling Bai's hands were tied together and he was quite speechless. He hadn't even drank yet, so why was he being handcuffed? Is this how new students are brought up in training camps? Ling Bai chuckled. My coming this time is not just an order from Teachers F. Tina took out 2 official documents. Advisor, he asked me to monitor you, and the Warring States General asked you to be detained pending trial for the crime of damaging public property. You still listen to he and Warring States? Ling Bai said amusedly, it seems. There is a traitor in our training camp. Shut up. I have already reported to the teacher. The instructions are to lock you in your own room and let me monitor you. Hearing the sound, Ling Bai smiled slightly. Indeed, in this way, the orders of 3 people were fulfilled at the same time. But he and Sengoku should both know their own strength, so what is the purpose of sending Tina to take charge? Ling Bai didn't think about it for the time being, and he didn't want to be too impatient, so he joked meaningfully. You're here to monitor me? You're not coveting my beauty, are you? What did you say? Tina's eyes widened, knowing that Ling Bai was teasing her. Countless black cuffs quickly stretched out from his hands and cuffed every part of Ling Bai's body. Kiao threshold binding. One lap after another. In an instant, Ling Bai turned into a big black rice dumpling. Woohoo! Can't even speak. Newcomer. I am a person with abilities who ate the fruit of the threshold, nicknamed Black Kin. The locks surrounding you are all as hard as steel, and you will never be able to break free. This is what happens if you make Tina unhappy. Tina said proudly. Ling Bai felt quite funny. But as soon as his eyes rolled, he suddenly had a plan in his mind, and he allowed Tina to tie him up without breaking free. Seeing that Ling Bai didn't move, Tina thought she was being honest. She raised her head and said, let's go. Go and see your room. After saying that, he turned around and left. But after taking 2 steps, he found that Ling Bai had not followed. When he turned around, he saw Ling Bai big zongzi twisting, indicating that his legs were tied tightly and he couldn't walk. Oops! Tina's confident face flashed with subtle embarrassment. Suppressing newcomers is a training camp tradition. In order to show her power to Ling Bai, she accidentally went too far. This is how to do ah. In fact, she is still unable to freely control the power of the threshold fruit. She can only bind it, but cannot untie it. As for using brute force to break the steel hardness sill lock, she can't do it now. Seeing Tina frozen there, Ling Bai thought that the other party didn't understand what he meant, so he struggled silently for a few times to allow himself to speak. My legs can't move. Ling Bai struggled to say. Hearing this, Tina felt a little embarrassed. But on the lips, he was still holding on. You want me to untie you? Impossible. Just stay here. I'll take you to your room. After saying that, she dragged her hands and put the Ling Bai big zongzi on her shoulders. Her face was not red and her heart was not happy, and she stepped forward aggressively. Damn! Are all girls these days so tough? Being carried on the shoulders of a girl again, Ling Bai was speechless. With his weight and such a thick iron lock, doesn't Tina feel heavy? Sure enough, after walking for a while, Tina's breathing was no longer gentle and she was dripping with sweat. To resist such a big piece of iron, Tina, you really worked hard. A white-haired man walked across the street, smoking a cigar and saying with admiration. Smorg, get out of here. Tina came all the way, and the more she thought about it, the more depressed she became. The unhappiness accumulated in his heart was all ignited by Smoker's teasing. Did you take the wrong medicine? Smoker blew out a smoke ring and looked at the Ling Bai big zongzi. It looks heavy. I don't understand the way women practice. Smoker shook his head and walked past Tina. Wait, Smoker, it's almost dark, where are you going? Go to the store to buy cigarettes. Impossible. There is a store next to your residence. This road is the way out of the training camp. You want to go out? What are you going to do? Tina said in a deep voice. A woman's instinct is trouble. Move your piece of iron and leave me alone. After saying that, Smoker's legs turned into smoke and rushed into the distance. In a flash, it disappeared from Tina's sight. Hateful. Tina stamped her foot bitterly. He couldn't help but quicken his pace. Throwing Ling Bai into his residence, Tina gasped and shouted. Newcomer! Now you know how powerful I am. Stay inside. Don't run around. After saying that, Tina closed the door hard. Outside the door, the sound of footsteps gradually faded away. Chapter 55. Confidential Warehouse. Ling Bai was tied up very tightly. System, turn the iron lock into wine. Ding, the transformation is completed, you will get a pot of black threshold wine, which is top grade. After drinking it, you can release the black threshold once. If it is poured on your body, it can form an iron lock. As the light circulated, the iron chains surrounding Ling Bai's body suddenly disappeared. Ling Bai put away the wine and moved his body. Looking around, there was no movement from Tina. It seems that he is going after Smoker. Ling Bai roughly understood Tina's role in the training camp, the second-year disciplinary committee member, who was responsible for everyone. With the corner of his mouth raised slightly, Ling Bai pressed himself against the window, feeling carefully. There are 2 on the left and 3 on the right. When Tina was carrying him all the way, he noticed that there were people watching along the way. They were dressed differently from the naval cadets in the training camp. Those people were the headquarters Navy. He is going to stare at me to death. Ling Bai chuckled and performed paper painting. The originally strong body suddenly became thinner, like a piece of paper, slipping out from the window crack. It was late at night, and all the watchers outside the door did not notice. The wind blew. Ling Bai floated for a while, like a fallen leaf, no one noticed. In a corner, the flat body swelled up and regained its human form. On a dark and windy night, when drunk people drink. Ling Bai shook his head and smiled slightly. Once upon a time, on many such nights, he sneaked to rob the warehouse. And now, after finally coming to the headquarters of the Navy, how could he let go of the good stuff of the headquarters of the Navy? In fact, as early as G2, Ling Bai began to plan how to act, which can be said to be a long-planned plan. Thank you so much for helping me gather all the wines of the headquarters together. Ling Bai walked in the dark night, silent. With his super perception and rich experience in committing crimes, he cleverly avoided one surveillance point after another. Not long after, he successfully left the training camp. The surveillance point was just a decoration, and Ling Bai's trace could not be detected at all. While thinking, a large cart passed by Ling Bai quickly. There were several large boxes, but more than 10 Navy officers were escorting them in all directions. And a very subtle smell made Ling Bai's mouth grin. Inside. It must be wine. Grabbing a stone from his feet, Ling Bai threw it to the left. Boom! The sound of the stone hitting the wall immediately attracted the attention of the Navy. Who? Guns were instantly aimed at the empty space. While the Navy's attention was diverted, Ling Bai moved forward at a high speed, and once again used paper painting to get into the box. Someone is testing us. Protect the goods. A colonel said. Yes. The Navy shouted in unison. Such a strict ban on alcohol must have a special purpose. We must be careful and cautious, and we must not fall behind. Strengthen vigilance. The colonel shouted. Yes. The group surrounded the big box in the center and did not leave. The escort continued. Ling Bai felt very bumpy inside, as if it had been transported for a long time. Sometimes up, sometimes down, it seemed to have taken an elevator. Finally, the car stopped. Report. This is the last batch. All the alcohol in the East Market has been seized. The transportation went smoothly. The colonel shouted. Open it and take a look. Ling Bai in the box was shocked when he heard it. This voice was clearly Crane. Jun. Hurry up! Ling Bai shouted in his heart. He never expected that the dignified naval officer would personally monitor every batch of wine entering the warehouse. Even if Ling Bai could hide himself, he would not be able to escape his sight. Once opened, it will be exposed. Yes. The colonel acted according to the order. The top 2 boxes had been opened, and bottles of wine were neatly stacked. Open the other ones. He said calmly. As soon as he finished speaking, a Navy man came over holding a calling phone bug. Puff, puff. Didn't I say? I won't answer ordinary phone calls, he said. But Major General Jun said that this matter is of great importance and I must let you know. Jun. He sighed and picked up the phone. Sister He. Where are you? I can't find you anywhere. Jun's voice was urgent. I'm here in the classified warehouse. Where did you put the wine? There is. I will personally guard it, and there will be secret sentries from all sides. There will be no problem. If you have anything to do, just tell me. He urged. Sister He, Ling Bai is a devil fruit user. He can turn objects he touches into wine. It's useless for you to lock up the wine. What? Crane screamed. The sound was so loud that the colonel who was about to open the last box was startled. Everyone's eyes were now focused on Crane. What kind of news is this? Even the chief of staff he lost his composure. I can't hear you. The ban on wine this time is unusual. I guess something big is involved, right? The same goes for explosions during the day. In the era of great pirates, even the Navy headquarters couldn't stop. The Marines discussed secretly. Crane was so shocked by the sudden news that he was shaking all over. Such important information. Why didn't you tell me earlier? He scolded. I haven't had time. Then why are you telling me about his superb cooking skills? If you had that time, you could have mentioned his ability. He was really angry. It was extremely rare that she began to speak mercilessly to Jun. Me? On the other end of the phone, Jun hesitated. Perhaps even Jun couldn't figure out why she spent so much time telling the story of Ling Bai's cooking. You don't really fall in love with that boy, do you? He said solemnly. Hearing the sound, Ling Bai, who was hiding in the box, was startled. No, no. You still say no. You're not focusing on useful information at all. Tell me, what else about him impressed you? Hearing the sound, the other end of the phone went silent for a moment. Jun hesitated for a moment and whispered. He also plays the violin very well. You. He felt like he was about to spit out a mouthful of old blood. Her feet staggered, and she felt a little unsteady and dizzy. Counsel Crane. Colonel quickly went to help. Need not. Crane snapped. He stood firm. Jun. Let me tell you, no matter how outstanding Ling Bai is or how he attracts you, it is Zeph who arranges it behind the scenes. You must not be fascinated by him. Starting from tomorrow, I will arrange for you to go to sea, and you will calm down. But, as someone who has been through this, it's very dangerous for you to do this. I need to take a break, that's it for now. He hung up the phone and seemed to have grown older all of a sudden. A man stood there. There was silence. Finally, she sighed and walked toward the exit with a sense of loss. Commander He, these wines. The colonel said awkwardly. Bring it in. It'll be better if it's sealed. He waved his hands and left without looking back. Chapter 56, 100,000 jugs of wine, hidden reward. The colonel saluted and watched the crane leave. He didn't open the last box. Ling Bai hid in the box and breathed a sigh of relief. The last batch of wine was successfully transported into the confidential warehouse. Ling Bai remained silent and waited patiently. The cart continued to move forward, and after a while, it stopped again. Have you seen it, Commander He? A Navy man with a rough voice said. Yes. Then just leave it to us. There's too much running today and it's getting dark. We need to be more efficient. Don't you need to go through machine inspection? Staff He has already done a very detailed inspection. The location here is remote and there has never been any trouble. Don't worry. But we'd better check the numbers. Put your things here. Your escort mission is over. Go back. The rough man was polite, but his words could not be refused. Yes. Colonel was forced to hand over the procedures. Ling Bai could feel that the cart he was in was handed over to the next escort team. The captain who was in charge of this batch of wine just now has been driven away. The cart continued to move, and there were more people in sight, color, and perception. Is this the last batch? Well, all the wine in the East Market has been put into storage. Then quickly collect the tax and send the things inside. Okay. There are 4 big boxes and 480 bottles of Fenjiu in total. Received. A total of 360 bottles of Fenjiu, registration completed. Ling Bai inside the box was stunned for a while. Outside, the Navy officers in charge of guarding the confidential warehouse began to laugh mischievously. Be serious. Don't laugh. Perform official duties. Everything is for justice. Yes. The laughter stopped suddenly, and everyone had a straight face. You must not leave me here, or I will beat them all away. Ling Bai thought to himself. After all, it is a confidential warehouse, how can we let such a self-defeating person guard it? Just the top box, grab the other 3 boxes quickly. Hurry up, I'll wait for you to come out to drink. Now. Someone said, this stuff has just been put into the warehouse. If we drink it right away, wouldn't it be a little too arrogant? You know what the heck, the most nervous times are the most relaxed times. Staff officer, he must be tired now. He might be sleeping soundly, so he won't have time to care about us. But there are still surveillance phone bugs. Don't worry, I've closed everything close to the outside, otherwise how would I collect the tax? Is the innermost one closed? How dare I lock you up? Don't talk nonsense. I haven't been out in 10 years since I was transferred to the secret warehouse. If you keep messing around, I won't be able to drink without you. No, big brother. Wait for me, swish. Remember to put a seal on it. I'll do the work, don't worry. Ling Bai suddenly felt that the speed of the cart was much faster, and it was drifting with lightning all the way. Soon, the narrow passage suddenly emptied out, revealing a huge underground room filled with all kinds of things. Smell good. No need to look, no need to look, just the constant connection between him and wine, Ling Bai can feel that there are countless good wines here. The Navy, who was responsible for sending him through the last batch in the corner, turned around and closed the extremely heavy door, followed by a sound like tearing off tape, as if something was stuck on the door. Ling Bai waited patiently for a long time until the Navy officer left. Using his fingers as swords, he poked a hole in the box. The environment here is very dark, but fortunately he has drank the divine Bailey's wine. As the saying goes, seeing money opens his eyes, his perception is greatly enhanced, and he can see clearly. Lots of surveillance phone bugs, but they're all asleep. Ling Bai carefully scanned every corner of the large room. It went very smoothly, which made him treat this opportunity more carefully. There is indeed no one, it doesn't seem like we are trying to lure you into a trap. Ling Bai observed for a long time. From the perspective of sight, hearing, color, and perception, this place is empty and quiet, as if it is completely isolated from the outside world. Finally, Ling Bai poured a little black wine on his face, and the wine solidified, forming a black mask that fit the contours of his face, hiding his face. The wine I just got was put to use immediately. Ling Bai jumped out of the box and stood proudly. Even if you are really ambushed, at least your posture should be cool. But after waiting for a while, there was still no movement. It's so quiet here. Is there really no trap? Ling Bai slowly put his mind at ease. Turning around, he finally looked at the piles of boxes. Are they all wine? Ling Bai's voice was trembling. If all of them were wine, it would undoubtedly be his favorite treasure. Ling Bai ran quickly in the room and opened all the boxes. System, identify all. Ding, identification completed. Fenjiu, low grade, can enhance physical strength after drinking. Ding, identification completed. Fenjiu, low grade, can enhance physical strength after drinking. Ding, identification completed. Sake, low grade, can enhance physical strength after drinking. Ding, identification completed. Sake, low grade, can enhance physical strength after drinking. Ding, identification completed. Sweet wine, low grade, can enhance physical strength after drinking. Ding, identification completed. Sweet wine, medium grade, can enhance physical strength after drinking, and the smile becomes sweeter. Listening to the system's prompt sound, Ling Bai felt that he was about to get drunk before drinking. This is undoubtedly his one piece. Ding, the host found 10,000 bottles of wine at the same time, unlocking the wine synthesis function. Ding, wine synthesis function, 3 identical low-grade wines can be synthesized into medium-grade wines, 30 identical medium-grade wines can be synthesized into high-grade wines, 300 identical high-grade wines can be synthesized into divine wines, and holy wines cannot be synthesized. Before Ling Bai had time to be happy, the system kept popping up prompts like crazy. Ding, host found 100,000 bottles of wine at the same time, reward skill, ninjutsu wine clone technique. Ding, ninjutsu wine clone technique, at the cost of consuming any pot of wine, cast the wine clone, the host can freely control it. The higher the grade of the wine, the closer the strength of the wine clone is to the original body. The strength of the God grade wine clone is the same as the original body, and the strength of the Saint grade wine clone exceeds the original body. The clone is powered by alcohol. The battle will greatly reduce the duration of the clone. The duration can be extended by drinking. Currently, there can be a maximum of 1 wine clone. Finally, after the identification of all the wines in the warehouse, Ling Bai stood in place. Look! He is laughing wildly. Chapter 57 Wine Clone and Wine Synthesis, please order first. Not only is the amount of wine exaggerated, but it also activates the hidden rewards of 2 systems. Double happiness, how can I not be ecstatic? Can't laugh. Can't laugh. Ling Bai tried to restrain himself. But how could he restrain himself? The unlocking of the wine synthesis function gave him hope of drinking God-grade wine. What is in front of him now is no longer just a pile of inferior wine. A quantity of 100,000 is enough to cause a qualitative change. It is a huge profit to exchange inferior wine for divine wine. After all, divine wine cannot be compared with inferior wine in terms of taste or effect. Even if the synthesis ratio is large, Ling Bai will not hesitate to exchange divine wine as much as possible. As for this wine clone, it has helped me a lot. Ling Bai took out a pot of wine from the box at random, and then slowly poured out the wine. The strange thing is that the wine did not fall to the ground, but was suspended in the air like weightlessness. After the last drop of wine was poured out, the light flowed and turned into another Ling Bai. You go out from the vent and go up all the way. You will definitely find the exit, then go home and lie down, and don't do anything. Ling Bai ordered. Yes. The wine clone turned into a pool of wine again, flowing along the vent and going up all the way. At the same time, Ling Bai could feel the movement in the ventilation duct from the perspective of the wine clone. This feeling is hard to describe. Controlling the wine clone is a bit like controlling a drunk self. It is erratic, but controllable. In other words, the wine clone is like another self, but different. It seems to have a certain ability to think independently. It's just going home to lie down. This kind of small thing should be no problem. Ling Bai touched his chin and decided to study it slowly later. After all, it is a skill that rewards 100,000 bottles of wine at the same time. It can definitely be developed into a huge use. The wine clone kept climbing up along the vent. The road was very tortuous, but after spending some time, it finally found the exit. The wine flowed out of the vent and condensed into Ling Bai's appearance again. Finding the right direction, the wine clone rushed towards the training camp. Next, let's synthesize the wine first. Ling Bai directly used the wine synthesis function. Bottle after bottle of wine disappeared after being touched by Ling Bai. Say. Ding synthesis completed, obtained medium quality sake, which will slightly increase mental power after drinking. If poured on a person, it can sober up a person in a light coma. Groob. Ding synthesis completed, obtained high quality sake, which will greatly increase mental power after drinking. If poured on a person, it can sober up a person in a deep coma. 3. Ding synthesis completed, obtained divine sake, which will max mental power after drinking. If poured on a person, it can sober up a person in any state, except the dead. 7. After successfully synthesizing 2 pots of divine sake, the wine in the warehouse was suddenly reduced by more than half. 1. Afterwards, Ling Bai successfully synthesized divine sweet wine. 7. Ding synthesis completed, divine sweet wine obtained. After drinking, the sweetness of the smile increases greatly, charm max. If you pour it on people, it can make people extremely happy. 2. The warehouse suddenly became empty. 9. But until the end, Ling Bai failed to synthesize the divine Fenjiu. 1. Damn. It must be that the guards stole too much. 1. When all the inferior wines were looted, Ling Bai got 2 pots of divine sake, 1 pot of divine sweet wine, and a pile of high-grade Fenjiu and some other wines. 9. Holding the harvest of this trip, Ling Bai was a little worried. His space was not big. After putting the divine wine in, he could only put a small part of the high-grade wine. And in front of him, there was still a lot of high-grade wine left that could not be contained. What to do with the extra wine? Drink it. No. This is a confidential warehouse, Drunkenness will cause trouble. But what can I do if I don't drink it? I can't waste it. Ling Bai had a fierce ideological struggle. How can there be such a difficult problem in the world? Finally, Ling Bai had an idea and decided to drink the divine sake first. After drinking the divine sake, his mental strength was max, and maybe he could control his drunkenness. Never waste a drop of wine, this is the most basic quality of an excellent drinker. Ling Bai said seriously. Looking at the pile of wine, his saliva was almost flowing. Hey! I really don't want to drink, it's all forced by current affairs, I have no choice. Ling Bai sighed in embarrassment. Reluctantly opened the divine sake. Swish! It seemed that there was a light blooming from the wine, and Ling Bai's eyes also burst out with brilliance. He raised his head and started to drink. The divine sake is refreshing. Ling Bai fell in love with it all at once. Gradually, 2 blushes climbed up his cheeks. Sure enough. Not intoxicating at all. Good wine. Ling Bai said to himself. In a blink of an eye, a pot of divine sake was empty and all of it was swallowed. Refreshing taste, long aftertaste, lingering for a long time, leaving a lingering fragrance in the mouth. Then, Ling Bai began to drink the top-grade Fenjiu, one pot after another. Surprisingly, the taste of the top-grade Fenjiu is also good. Although the grade is inferior to the divine sake, the taste is not bad at all. No wonder the guards on duty want to steal Fenjiu. They know a lot. Ling Bai smiled. The fragrance of apricot flowers and the strong aroma of wine mixed together, hitting his taste buds. Ask where the wine shop is, the shepherd boy pointed to the apricot village in the distance. In front of Ling Bai, some poetic and picturesque scenes have begun. Well, not intoxicating at all. Ling Bai drank without scruples. His eyes gradually lost. Unconsciously, he was still drunk. Obviously, mental strength and drunkenness are 2 completely different things. Not drunk at all. Ah ha ha ha. Ling Bai started to laugh wildly again. The previous joy was infinitely magnified at this time, and the room was filled with unbridled laughter. Listen, is there someone laughing inside? Laugh at you, you've only drunk a few drinks, and you're exhausted? Stop pretending to be drunk. Drink. Ha ha ha, you've been thirsty for too long, and you get drunk as soon as you drink. You're even hallucinating. Is there a ghost in there? The navy on duty also drank a lot. A large box of Fenjiu was opened, and there were only a few bottles left. It seems that I did drink a little too much. I have to report my work tomorrow. Brothers, I'm going to withdraw first. Withdraw? Are you still a brother? No one is allowed to leave until I'm defeated today. Hold the wine steady. Blow. Sit down, we're just getting started. Reporting is like water, and it's over in a flash. Besides, aren't we drinking while listening to your report? Everyone inside and outside the door was drinking happily. The secret warehouse that no one cared about became a paradise isolated from the world. The aroma of wine was so strong that even the surveillance phone bug was drunk. At this moment, a wisp of white smoke entered the warehouse through the vent. Chapter 58. Halo Shi Ten Shao. White smoke. As soon as there was any movement, Ling Bai immediately became alert. He stuffed the empty wine bottle into the box, hugged the rest of the wine and hid. Hiding whenever there is any movement is a habit accumulated over many years of committing crimes. Mental power has nothing to do with drunkenness, but it greatly enhances Ling Bai's nerve reflexes. Even in a drunken state, his reactions are not sluggish at all. Island. Are you here to capture me? Ling Bai drank faster. Drink up. Just slip away. Puff puff. The amount of white smoke is increasing, and soon it spreads over a large area. The white smoke that seeped in from the vents became thicker and thicker, visible to the naked eye, and was no longer thin. It doesn't look like poisonous gas. Bai Yan was very strange, it didn't seem to be aimed at him. Instead, he walked around the top of the room and knocked out all the surveillance phone bugs. Hey? Aren't all the surveillance phone bugs locked up? Ling Bai noticed something unusual. This shows that the white smoke was not the operation of the personnel on duty. Someone infiltrated. Ling Baizu narrowed his eyes. What a coincidence! Immediately afterwards, a large amount of white smoke gathered together and gradually formed a human shape. And that man's face was also wearing a mask that covered his face. Smorg? How dare he come in here? Even with the mask, Ling Bai could recognize this person as Smoker at a glance. The ability of the natural smoke fruit is simply more recognizable than its appearance. Different from Ling Bai's caution, Smoker walked swaggering after choking on the phone bug, not worrying at all that there was an ambush here. Well, the secret warehouse is nothing more than that. I couldn't find it before, but now I finally discovered it. Smoker glanced at the wine with disdain on his face. In his eyes, this level of prohibition on alcohol will only increase the complaints within the Navy and have no practical effect at all. He kicked his foot on the big box, and the sound of bottles clanging could be heard inside. Smoker snorted coldly and headed deeper into the warehouse. Where is he going? Ling Bai stretched his neck to take a look, and then he realized something was strange. Going deeper, Smoker passed through a small door and entered another large room. Second room. Ling Bai's eyes flashed. It seems that Smoker did sufficient research before sneaking here. He is indeed a problem child in the Navy, and he is as courageous as me. Ling Bai raised the corners of his mouth, showing some interest in Smoker. The question now is, what is the purpose of Smoker's infiltration? Anyway, the wine hasn't been finished yet. Let me see what you want to do. Ling Bai followed closely behind. Top-grade Fenjiu can hide your scent after drinking it and distract others from paying attention to you. It is as inconspicuous as apricot blossoms on the roadside. It can be stacked. Ling Bai staggered behind Smoker, but Smoker didn't notice at all. The two came to the second room together. Smoker choked the phone bug in the room and then quietly closed the small door. There is no vent in the second room. It can be said to be truly airtight. It can only be entered through this small door. Compared to the first room, which was just filled with wine, it was filled with various weapons, ammunition, and some sundries. But deeper in the second room, Ling Bai suddenly saw a thick iron door with the word Marine printed in red. The material was completely different. The scarlet letter Marine. Ling Bai was immediately attracted. Marine is the English word for navy, but navies around the world write marine in blue, which symbolizes the sea. So the red here obviously has only one meaning. Danger. What's inside? Ling Bai's curiosity was aroused, so he left Smoker and walked toward the heavy iron door. The secret warehouse of the Navy headquarters is definitely not a place to store miscellaneous items. The real secret must be behind this heavy iron door. As for Smoker, he was completely unaware of Ling Bai and began to search the room. In the same space, the two of them were studying independently without disturbing each other. It looked really weird. After a while, Ling Bai's hand gently touched the red marine, only to find the keyhole leading inside. The sights and sounds spread out, and in the depths there was only the sound of monitoring phone bugs. You can't get in here either. Ling Bai stood in front of the red marine, drinking and thinking. Storm? It was dangerous stuff, could explode, and it was too eye-catching. Even though he was drunk, he immediately gave up the attack. Suddenly, Ling Bai felt himself being lifted up. It's strange, there's nothing behind this pot of flowers. Smoker kept searching for something, lifting Ling Bai and then putting it down again. Then he went to search elsewhere. But before he had moved a few places, Smoker suddenly stiffened and turned around. Flowers? Why are there flowers here? However, when I look back, there is nothing in front of the red marine, and there are no flowers anywhere. Cold sweat flowed down Smoker's back. What shocked him was why he, who should have been alert immediately, took flowers for granted and didn't even see what they looked like. Just like. It's like his attention can't stay on the flowers at all. Hey, are you here to steal things too? At this moment, a hand quietly hooked onto his shoulder. Who? Smoker felt like he was getting an electric shock. The other party was already hooking up on his shoulders, but he didn't notice it in advance. Sure enough, something is wrong. In an instant, Smoker's whole body turned into smoke, trying to distance himself. However, there was a bang. He was hit on the head with a blunt object and fell directly to the ground. So fast. Ignoring the pain in his head, Smoker quickly stood up and assumed a defensive posture. Why was he still being hit when he was clearly in a state of smoke? Could it be that the other party is armed? Smoker didn't learn the armed color, and he was even more jealous of everyone who awakened the armed color. But the feeling of weakness that followed made Smoker's pupil shrink. It's not the armed color. But Halo Stone. Smoker raised his head suddenly, his eyes locked on a blue weapon. Halo Shijia Shao. Isn't this the weapon he is looking for this time? The 10 hands are similar to a stick, with a hook at the front of the handle. It is a weapon whose defensive power is stronger than its offensive power. It is specially used to restrain swords and is used for 3 consecutive attacks of stuck knife, broken knife, attack throat. You know, the power in the sea is currently divided into several types, such as physical skills, sword skills, devil fruits, etc. Smoker was born with strange strength and was very confident in his physical skills. On this basis, using the 10 hands to restrain the swordsman, using the sea tower stone to restrain the devil fruit, and relying on the advantage of the natural system, he will undoubtedly be invincible on the sea. At least, that's what he thought. And this halo stone Jushao, made of ultra-high purity halo stone, is just like a weapon tailor-made for him. Ever since he got the news that it was in the secret warehouse, Smoker decided not to let it gather dust. But while thinking about it, Smoker's pupils shrank again. Why? Why didn't I pay attention to the person holding the weapon? Chapter 59. Red Marine. Under normal circumstances, no matter how eye-catching the weapon is, you must first see the person clearly. People are the key and the variable in everything. But his eyes seemed to be separated from that person, and even if he opened his eyes, he could only barely feel the breath. Passive. Smoker knows, this is a tough guy. But how could he give up so easily? Open your eyes hard and make sure you see clearly the person holding the sea tower stone in his 10 hands. Finally, the hazy hallucination of the flower disappeared, and a man wearing a black iron mask appeared in front of Smoker. That's all. Smoker breathed a sigh of relief. If you can see people clearly, you can hit them. You finally noticed me, Master. Ling Bai put Halo Shishi's hands on his shoulders and said frivolously. After all, it was just top-grade Fenjiu. As long as the other party was determined to pay attention, Ling Bai still couldn't hide. Who are you? Why did you sneak into my navy's secret warehouse? What is your purpose? Smoker said righteously. As soon as he came, he asked 3 questions in a row. Yo? You came in secretly just like me, and yet you are so confident. You are so shameless, Smoker. As soon as he heard the other party calling his name, Smoker seemed to be struck by lightning. After a long time, he took off his mask and stared at Ling Bai with great vigilance. Who are you? Why do you know about me? The other party knew his identity, but he knew nothing about this person. The gap in intelligence immediately put him at a huge disadvantage. I am a thief just like you. Ling Bai said with a smile. He raised his head and poured the wine through the gap in the black iron mask's mouth. Are you here to steal the wine? Smoker asked in shock. Then are you here to steal cigarettes? Under the mask, Ling Bai's chuckle could be heard. Ling Bai turned over his hand, took out a box made of cedar, opened it, and found a box of fine cigars inside. Ling Bai continued, when I was looking for the halo stone just now, I found a box of cigars next to it. Would you sneak in specifically for such a thing? Across from him, Smoker's eyes widened. Explain. Is there such a good cigar next to Halo Shijashao? Groob. Damn it. 8. Why didn't he notice it? 5. Where did you find it? 6. Smoker said, sounding rather jealous. 3. It's right here. Ling Bai pointed to the place where he was standing. There are 2 things on top. Are you blind? 2. Hearing the sound, Smoker felt as if he had eaten shit. 3. He was about to search there, but because he was frightened by the flower thing, he didn't have time. 6. However, just in these few seconds of hesitation, Halo Shishao and the cigar fell into the hands of others. 1. Smoker burst out directly, his eyes wavering. The opponent's strength is definitely not weak, and he still holds 10 pieces of Halo stone. He will definitely suffer a loss if he robs it by force. Let's make a deal. Since we are all here to steal, we can be considered accomplices. I can give you a cigar and you do me a favor. Ling Bai threw the cigar in his hand. What? Smoker's eyelids twitched. Did the other party really think he was here to steal cigars? No matter how much he likes smoking, there is no way he would sneak into a confidential warehouse to steal this kind of thing. How is it? Talk. Ling Bai kept shaking the cigar. He looks like he has control over Smoker's lifeline. TCH. Why do you want to help first? If it involves the Navy's position, I absolutely disagree. Smoker straightened his chest. It's not a big deal. I just want to know what's behind that door. Ling Bai raised his chin. Smoker looked along the direction and found a heavy iron door with red marine printed on it. In there. Smoker looked solemn. In order to infiltrate, he collected a lot of information, but he had no information about this red marine door. Originally, he didn't intend to touch it because red symbolized danger, so it was better to stay away. How's it going? Isn't it very easy? With your smoke fruit ability, you can go in through the keyhole. Just for a look. Smoker didn't believe it. If you can open the door for me, that would be great. Ling Bai said with a smile. Hearing the sound, Smoker fell into deep thought. It seems that the other party is here to gather information. But which power group in the world needs to come to the Navy headquarters to spy on intelligence? I can give you time to think about it. When you think about it, come and find me. After all, the wine hadn't been finished yet, so Ling Bai wasn't in a hurry. Holding the sea tower stone and the cigar, he walked towards the red marine. However, before taking 2 steps, he stumbled and fell. Seeing this scene, Smoker suddenly had an idea. Naturally, he would not believe that Ling Bai was drunk, but he believed that Ling Bai fell down because he could not stand firmly. How dare you hold the sea tower stone 10 times with your bare hands? Smoker snorted in his heart. The fact that the opponent can turn into a flower must be due to the ability of the devil fruit, and the sea tower stone is the nemesis of the devil fruit, so holding it with bare hands will definitely make you weak. And he had considered this early and prepared leather gloves in advance, just because he was afraid that he would lose strength when using this weapon. He walks erratically and the soles of his feet are weak. He must be holding on. Smoker instantly felt that he was no longer at a disadvantage. Since he is looking for Halo Shi, he will definitely not be armed and domineering. As long as he finds a way to deceive Halo Shi Jushao, he will be invincible again. As for the robbery, Smoker admitted that the opponent's shot was a bit fast and it was not a good opportunity at this time. I've thought about it. Smoker walked to Ling Bai and said in a deep voice, but I don't just want cigars, I want them all. Oh? That's right. Only children make choices. Ling Bai leisurely agreed. Okay. It's refreshing enough. In Smoker's mind, this person simply doesn't know the true value of Halo Shi Shishao. When the time comes, arrest him and investigate the details carefully, and maybe you can achieve great success. While thinking about it, Smoker even made up a story about why he caught people in the secret warehouse. Please. There are some phone bugs inside. Ling Bai reminded. So this is the reason for your transaction. Smoker glanced at Ling Bai coldly, turned into smoke, and penetrated through the keyhole. After arriving at the heavy iron gate, Smoker choked out the surveillance phone bug and gathered his body. Here, there is darkness. What's in it? Ling Bai shouted through the door. Don't worry. I'm still watching. Smoker took out his lighter. Click. A small flame jumped out. By the firelight, Smoker just took a look. Suddenly, he quickly put out the fire. Smoker's mind wavered, remembering the action of lighting the fire just now, and he was still afraid. Here. There is such a thing hidden here. However, at this moment, the piercing alarm sounded. The whole room suddenly became brightly lit. Chapter 60, The Expanding Warring States Period. Not only the secret warehouse, but also the entire marine fandos, the piercing alarm sounded. Everyone immediately entered the highest alert state. What happened? The confidential warehouse has been invaded. Is there really that warehouse? Are the rumors true? Residents in the living area listened to the siren and gathered together in 2s and 3s to discuss. The Navy gathered together in large numbers and moved quickly in a certain direction. In the general's office, he and Sengoku suddenly stood up. Alarm in a classified warehouse. The two looked at each other, but the reactions in each other's eyes were inconsistent. I just closed the wine today, something will happen tonight, right? He said thoughtfully to Warring States, I'll go to the secret warehouse to have a look. No. Unexpectedly, Warring States rejected his suggestion without hesitation, and instead said, let's go to the training camp together. Going to find Ling Bai. Exactly. I have arranged for someone to monitor him, but he has never left the room. He said. No, the person I arranged reported that Ling Bai had left the training camp. What did you say? He looked at Warring States in disbelief. Who did you arrange? Pora Salino. Warring States said meaningfully. You let him follow Ling Bai all the time. He was a little surprised. That's not true. Pora Salino said that Ling Bai's sense of knowledge is very strong. If he follows too closely, he might be exposed. Warring States laughed. Hearing the sound, his face didn't look good. Warring States, you are just fishing for law enforcement. You can obviously stop Ling Bai, so why let him leave? You also know that there are a lot of those things in the secret warehouse. He was dissatisfied with Sengoku's actions. She is now 80% sure that the alarm must be related to Ling Bai. Don't worry. I've already said hello to Kyuzan. He should have arrived at the secret warehouse. With him here, nothing will happen. You. He pointed at Zhang Guo, and had a lot of unsatisfactory words to complain about. But now that things have come to this, the whole process is proceeding step by step according to Zhang Guo's plan, and she knows that there is no way to stop it. Now, Zeph is in trouble. He knew that if something happened in the confidential warehouse, Ling Bai would most likely be sentenced to exile, and Zeph would also be punished for the crime of poor supervision. If the fight in the daytime is brought up together, Marshal, there is no place for Zeph at all. He shook his head and closed his eyes. Zhang Guo made a brilliant move, directly mobilizing the general backup to work for him. By then, the evidence will be complete, and the reason for the crime will be sufficient. Even if it is her washing fruit, it can't wash Ling Bai's guilt. He sighed. This kid's overall view is really not good. But it's also her fault. She actually put all the wine together. Isn't it a bait for Zhang Guo, waiting for Ling Bai to take the bait? No need to go to the training camp, let's go directly to the secret warehouse to meet Ling Bai. How can that be possible? Zhang Guo's smile became even more intense. At this time, of course, we have to let Zeph witness it in person. We have to move faster, otherwise Zeph will hear the news and take action. After that, Zhang Guo went straight out of the general's office. Humph. He didn't say much and followed behind. The two were very fast. In a blink of an eye, they arrived at the training camp and found Zeph. He simply told Zeph the reason. Since you are coming here, why don't you use Den Den Mushi to notify us in advance? Zeph had a gloomy face and seemed to have noticed something. Notify in advance? Wouldn't that alert the enemy? Zhang Guo was confident of victory at this time and had no scruples. Zhang Guo, don't be so proud. I sent someone to watch Ling Bai, he definitely didn't step out of the room. Ha ha ha, you mean that little girl Tina? She went after another problem child of yours. Smoker. That's right. When she came back, Ling Bai had already slipped out. Who told you? Zeph glared. It's me. A beam of light came in an instant, photons gathered, and Borsellino appeared. Seeing Borsellino's trace, Zeph's face became even uglier. So gloomy. As if water could drip out. You don't believe me, that's fine. You don't believe Borsellino, that's fine. Let's go and see for ourselves. Of course, you can walk slower, maybe Ling Bai is fast and can run back. Ha ha ha. Zhang Guo is very confident. The location of the confidential warehouse is on the other side of Marineford, separated from all living places such as the naval training area and residential areas, and far away. If you want to return to the training camp quietly from such a far place, this amount of time is definitely not enough. Zhang Guo, pay attention to your image. He couldn't bear it anymore. What image? Zhang Guo roared, Zeph's lax management has committed a serious crime. If there is anything wrong with the confidential warehouse, the whole people of Marineford will be in danger. I will never be polite to him. Then why are you still standing here? Doesn't the confidential warehouse need more combat power? Zeph said. Ling Bai entered the confidential warehouse and may have drunk. There are still a lot of that thing in it. If it is detonated, the consequences will be disastrous. No hurry. Take it step by step. I will make all your evidence of guilt real and dead. Zhang Guo has completely torn his face. At this time, any comradeship has been thrown behind him. He needs the position of marshal. Only when he becomes the admiral of the navy can he show his ambition. Zeph, don't blame me for being cruel. When I really become the admiral of the navy, I can promote you and Ling Bai again. But now, let's go. Zhang Guo went straight to Zeph's collar. Don't touch me. Zeph roared, I will leave by myself. Now that it's said so, I won't be polite with you. If I find out that it has nothing to do with Ling Bai, I will never let you go. Impossible. Zhang Guo said firmly. The collision of the two people's momentum caused cracks in the ground. The group soon came to Ling Bai's residence. Tina sat at the door, doing her duty, but seemed to be sulking. When she found out that the senior executives had arrived, she immediately performed a standard navy salute. Where is Ling Bai? Zeph said. I tied him up and threw him in the room. I asked if he had come out. Can he still move after being tied up like that? Impossible, I even carried him back myself. Tina said. Hearing this, Zhang Guo smiled. Borsellino, did Ling Bai come back after he went out? No, until the alarm sounded in the secret warehouse, Ling Bai never entered the room again. That's good. Different monitors gave different answers. He was depressed and walked in front of everyone. Isn't it good to see if he is inside? If you have this time to waste, you might as well think about how to minimize the loss of the secret warehouse. To be honest, I don't believe Ling Bai is willing to sit and wait for death. One Cuisine is not enough. He said. Don't worry, Sakaski is here too. Zhang Guo said, and there are constant backup plans. 2 generals are the backup, the future top combat power of the navy. He doesn't believe that Ling Bai can still rebel. It's better to be careful. Your victory declaration should be slowly told after you are promoted. He said, and pushed open the door. As soon as the door opened, a drunk Ling Bai appeared in everyone's sight. Just now. Was someone calling me? Chapter 61. After drinking, I ran. What? How is this possible? You are in there. He, Zhang Guo, Borsellino, each expression is more exciting than the other. Bang! With a shocking sound, Zeph went berserk. Zhang Guo. The dark breath exploded among the crowd, and Zeph's purple hair moved without wind. The materialized anger is more terrible than murderous aura. Oops! Borsellino directly turned into a light element and flashed to the sky. And Zhang Guo's mind was blank. Before he could react, the black fist had already hit him in the face. Bang! 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 With such a terrifying punch, Zhang Guo was directly knocked out, and he finally stopped after knocking down 3 houses in a row. Damn it! Zhang Guo climbed up from the ruins, and his previous fierceness was gone. And Zeph had already arrived in front of him in an instant, venting all his unhappiness towards Zhang Guo. Boom! 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 Punch after punch, all muffled, beat Zhang Guo to death. In a blink of an eye, the ruins were covered with dust, as if a bomb had exploded. Zhang Guo was beaten very badly. Borsellino. What's going on? Under the ruins, Zhang Guo's roar came out. I don't know. Borsellino slipped away directly. Just kidding, if he continued to stay here, he would definitely have to bear Zeph's anger. Damn it! Zhang Guo was beaten so hard that he couldn't bear it. He transformed into a giant Buddha, and with one palm he pushed the air and blasted Zephyr away. You dare to fight back? Zephyr was even more angry. Wait a minute. This shouldn't be the case. Damn it, this shouldn't be the case. After Zephyr finished speaking, the density of his armament haki increased significantly. It was shiny black, and even more eye-catching under the night. He punched the giant Buddha, and Sengoku responded with his palm, but he clenched his teeth tightly. In the entire navy, there are only 2 people whose armament haki strength is higher than Zephyr, one is Garp, and the other is Sora. Although he has the blessing of the human fruit Big Buddha form on his physical fitness, he has no confidence at this time, so how can he be Zephyr's opponent? Enough! Do you 2 want to destroy Marineford? He finally spoke. The 2 were separated at the first touch, with Zeph and warring states each taking sides. Crane, which side are you on? Zeph said angrily. I'm on the side of justice. This matter. I'm not done with warring states. I will give you an explanation. Crane promised, but for now, you should go to the secret warehouse with us. Don't go. Zeph directly refused. What did you say? The area I am responsible for is only the training camp. From now on, I will not take action again. I will only do one thing. Keep an eye on Ling Bai. Zeph said. Why are you staring at him? The key now is not him at all. He knew that Zeph was speaking angrily to mock warring states, so he quickly tried to persuade him. Keep an eye on him so he doesn't get harmed by some people. Bah! Zeph spat at warring states, and then led Ling Bai into the room. Bang! As soon as the door was closed, several cracks appeared in the wall next to the door. This. Tina was stunned. She didn't understand why Ling Bai wasn't tied into a big rice dumpling, and she didn't understand why the two generals started fighting. But she knew that this was not the right place to stay. He and Sengoku had contacted her before to perform official duties, but now it seemed that she had been involved in something that she shouldn't have been involved in. Seeing that no one was paying attention to her, Tina quickly ran away. He glanced at warring states and rarely helped him. In fact, the reason why the situation has developed to this point is not because the warring states period was too overextended and did not leave any room for retreat. Warring states. I'm going to the confidential warehouse now to wrap things up. You should think about how to explain to Zeph what happened today. He said. Why should I explain to him? Warring states said loudly. Don't say angry words. You'd better hope that the people who invaded the confidential warehouse don't cause a big mess. If something goes wrong, your farce today will not end well. After that, the crane left. And her words made Zhenguo's pupils shrink suddenly. He had always been sure that Ling Bai was the one who invaded the confidential warehouse. After all, he had already arranged how Ling Bai could find the secret warehouse. Could it be that the people in the store didn't spread the news to the right place? In the plan, Ling Bai should go to the store to try his luck to buy wine, and then happen to hear the discussion about the location of the confidential warehouse. Even if others heard it, they would just treat it as hearsay and not think deeply about it at all. Only those who are truly interested in the secret warehouse will look for it if they hear about it. Warring states couldn't understand. Is there anyone in the entire Navy headquarters who dares to break into the secret warehouse? Apart from Ling Bai, who has hundreds of punishments recorded in the file, is there really anyone else? Damn it! If you weren't going to the classified warehouse, then where were you going secretly? Warring states believed that Ling Bai must have gone out, but he didn't go to the secret warehouse? Countless question marks in my head. What's wrong? Warring states really couldn't figure it out, so he touched his swollen face and walked away dejectedly. In Ling Bai's residence, Zeph stared at Ling Bai, with no trace of anger on his face. How did you do it? Zeph said softly. How did you do it? Ling Bai was swaying, not knowing what to say. Of course it's this clone. It can actually talk? It looks exactly like the real person. Zeph kept walking in circles around Ling Bai. Touching Ling Bai's arm, it was indeed the texture of skin. Did you see it? Suddenly, Ling Bai grinned and lay down directly to reduce consumption. The alcohol in this body is almost exhausted. If you come here a little later, I will be gone. Alcohol. Zeph was even more surprised after hearing this. Have you developed the fermented fruit to this extent? Devil fruit has endless possibilities. As long as you dare to imagine and create, you can develop many unexpected uses. Above the sea, countless powerful people have made their names on the sea by exploiting devil fruits. It's obviously just a devil fruit that makes wine, but it uses wine to create something similar to a clone. Zeph asked himself that he couldn't do it, so he could only praise it. But how do you see that I should be perfect? Ling Bai said with a smile. Humph. They haven't seen you very often, so naturally they can't tell. I have observed you carefully with the color of my knowledge, and I am very familiar with the sound of your life. This body is obviously different. Zeph raised his head and said. As expected of a teacher. Stop praising me and saying, what's going on at the confidential warehouse? In fact, Zeph also believed that Ling Bai was causing trouble. And, never doubted. Smorg set off the alarm, and I'm having a headache too. What? Zeph's expression changed. Why is he there? How could I know? As he spoke, Ling Bai's body surface began to become transparent. The alcohol is running out. Then what are you going to do now? Zeph asked. What else can I do? After drinking, I will run. There was a crash. Ling Bai disintegrated into a puddle of water. Click. Zeph accidentally crushed the bed. Chapter 62, Killing Demons and Drinking Wine. Move the time forward a little. It was said that Smoker had just triggered the alarm and immediately panicked. It turned into smoke and came out directly from the keyhole. Just as he was about to run away, Ling Bai hit him on the head with a sap. Hailashie hit Smoker's body with his 10 hands, knocking him back to his original shape. Tell me, what's in it? Ling Bai put Hailashie's 10 hands on Smoker's chin. Smoker just wanted to escape quickly, and he didn't want to be entangled by Ling Bai. Inside is a demon-slaying bullet. Demon-killing bullet. Ling Bai seemed to have heard it somewhere, and it felt a little familiar. Have you ever heard of the demon-slaying order? It's the cannonball used to execute that thing. So it's that thing. Ling Bai knew now. The demon-slaying order will conduct an indiscriminate and devastating attack on an area to completely eliminate the threat. Both people and islands will be wiped out. Obviously, the cannonballs used by the demon-slaying order were not the iron cannons equipped by ordinary warships, but specially designed weapons of mass destruction, and the explosive power was very terrifying. While thinking about it, Ling Bai's 10 hands of Hailashie relaxed slightly. Smoker quickly turned into smoke and ran away. After running to the first room, he ran out along the ventilation duct with all his strength, not daring to stop for a moment. And Ling Bai looked at the red marine in front of him, with a dangerous curve on his lips. Anyway, things are getting big. Why don't we just make the noise bigger? I saw Ling Bai put his hand on the iron door and pinched it suddenly. The iron door immediately made an overwhelming sound, and all 5 of Ling Bai's fingers were embedded in it. Open it for me. Ling Bai grabbed the iron door and opened it. The iron gate, which was several meters thick, was crumpled in Ling Bai's hands like paper. The heavy steel was deformed out of shape, and Ling Bai successfully reached the third room. The diameter of each densely stacked cannonball is exaggerated. Ling Bai picked up a demon-slaying bullet. Very heavy and textured. Compared with ordinary iron bullets, one is in the sky and the other is underground. Nice one. Ling Bai slowly stroked the demon-slaying bullet, as if touching some good treasure. And good things like this usually have only one end in Ling Bai's hands. System, convert the demon-slaying bullet into wine. Ding, the transformation is completed, you will get a pot of demon-slaying bullet wine, a divine product. After drinking it, your physical skills will explode, and your shooting skills will be max. If it is poured on someone, it will also explode. Yes. Yes. That's right. Ling Bai listened to the introduction of Tomo Danjiu and started a new round of ecstasy. The densely packed ammunition here is enough to make him drink to his heart's content. Ling Bai finished 2 pots at once, still changing. At this time, he sensed that Zeph and others had found the wine clone, and that Zeph had discovered the truth about the wine clone. After drinking, I'll run away. Ling Bai replied. Ding, the transformation is completed, you will get a pot of dumb wine and drugs. After drinking it, your voice will become hoarse and last for 1 hour. But Ling Bai was drinking to his heart's content and was distracted by the wine clone. Didn't listen carefully at all. After drinking a pot of poisonous wine, Ling Bai suddenly felt a strange burning sensation in his throat. Why is this bottle of wine so strong? Well, why does my voice sound? Ling Bai was suddenly startled. His originally normal voice was like that of a dying old man, extremely hoarse, and it was difficult to even speak. The wine bottle subconsciously lost its grip and fell all over the floor. At this moment, a cold wind hit. Immediately afterwards, the temperature of the room dropped suddenly, and a large amount of frost condensed, rendering the place into a world of ice and snow. Get out of there! Intruder! Kuzan, half of his body frozen, stood in the second room, looking at Ling Bai's back, his words cold. And under his feet, he was stepping on Smoker, who had escaped before. At this time, Smoker was handcuffed with sea tower stone, but he had frozen into an ice sculpture. Didn't you run out? Ling Bai looked back. Kuzan was a little surprised when he heard Ling Bai's voice. Isn't Ling Bai very young? Why does his voice sound like this? Kuzan thought to himself. But on the surface, Kuzan was still very calm and said, Ling Bai, take off your mask. Everything you have done has been exposed. What awaits you will be the trial on Judiciary Island. Ling Bai? What Ling Bai? Ha ha ha. Hoarse laughter echoed in the space. Immediately afterwards, Hailashie's 10 hands poked out from the void, and then, a ghostly voice suddenly sounded behind Kuzan. Does that person have my speed? What? Kuzan kept his eyes open from the beginning to the end, so why didn't he notice when the other party started to act? Like a conditioned reflex, Kuzan quickly elementalized his head in advance. Bang! Halo Shishi's hand grazed Kuzan's neck. Fortunately, Kuzan had foresight, otherwise this blow would have directly hit his head. Lava Pluto! At this moment, Sakazuki jumped out of nowhere and appeared behind Ling Bai like lightning. The entire arm turned into magma, and it went straight to Ling Bai's head. Oh ho ho ho! The mantis stalks the cicada, is the aureole behind. The hoarse laughter made Sakazuki's hair stand on end. Ling Bai clenched his other hand into a fist and faced Sakazuki's hell dog attack unceremoniously. No armed colors. Sakazuki noticed the details and couldn't help but sneer in his heart. Using your physical body to conquer a devil fruit is simply courting death. Burn you to death. The power in Sakazuki's hand couldn't help but become a little heavier. However, the moment the lava fist came into contact with the opponent, a violent explosion suddenly exploded between the two. Bang! A mushroom cloud rose directly, exploding the warehouse with a rustling sound. The ice-sealing smoker instantly collapsed, and his whole body, including the sea tower stone handcuffs, turned into powder. But in the next moment, smoke rose from the powder and condensed into Smoker's appearance. I'm not dead. Smoker looked at himself, feeling particularly shocked. Aside. Sakazuki, you are crazy. Kuzan said angrily, if the demon-slaying bomb is detonated, most of Marin Eventer will sink. I didn't cause the explosion. Sakazuki's arm was blown to pieces, and the lava flowed thickly and reshaped the arm. Who are you if it's not you? Ling Bai's ability is brewing wine, how could he cause an explosion? Damn it, you still want to shirk responsibility. Kuzan cursed. He's not Ling Bai. Sakazuki said angrily, his fists can explode. He should be a user with explosive fruit abilities. Not Ling Bai. Kuzan exclaimed in shock. He thought it was strange before. But if this person wasn't Ling Bai, who could he be? It seems like you two had a great time chatting. The hoarse voice came again, and Kuzan and Sakazuki quickly stood together. This is a powerful enemy. Chapter 63, no matter how many natural elements there are, they are still garbage. Kuzan and Sakazuki had always been at odds with each other. Now that they were standing together, their caution towards Ling Bai was self-evident. After their first confrontation, both of them knew that this person was very strong. Please let me help too. At this time, Smoker spoke up. You? Smoker. You are obviously a traitor. Kuzan raised his hand, and the 0-degree freezing air spread, trying to freeze Smoker again. I came in after him. Smoker explained, I'm a marine. Hearing the sound, Ling Bai knew what Smoker wanted to do, and then Heilashi made gestures with his 10 hands and said. No matter how many natural elements there are, they are still rubbish. You three, come on together. What did you say? The three of them said almost in unison. Everyone hates it with itch. Originally, Smoker was just trying to clear himself of suspicion, but he didn't expect the other party to be so rampant. But that's fine too. In one sentence, he was directly placed in the camp of Kuzan and Sakazuki. Even if the superiors were to interrogate him in the future, he would still be able to find something to say. At most, it would be a crime of greed for merit. Frozen time capsule. Kuzan hit his feet coldly, and a large area of frost spread from his feet. Everything it touches is frozen. Ha ha ha, with such speed, who do you want to freeze? Ling Bai laughed wildly and disappeared from the place again. When he reappeared, he appeared directly behind Smoker, and Heilashi struck Smoker on the head with his 10 hands. Take care of the weakest one first. The hoarse taunt made Smoker unwilling to sit and wait for death. White fist. The advantage of the natural system was reflected at this moment. Smoker's arm turned into smoke, which was equivalent to extending his arm. He would hit the opponent one step earlier. However, the next moment, the white fist passed directly through Ling Bai's body. After image. Sakazuki's pupils shrank suddenly. He didn't expect that the opponent's speed could be so fast. Before he had time to think about it, a club hit him on the head. Then, it exploded in the face. Boom. What? Kuzan was shocked. In the perception of the observation haki, this person was still fighting with Smoker at first, how could he run behind Sakazuki all of a sudden? The weakest. I'm actually talking about you. Sakazuki. After that, Ling Bai disappeared again. Only then did Kuzan realize that it was not that the opponent's speed was so fast that it exceeded the capture of the observation haki. Instead, the opponent's breath was very erratic, as if he could avoid the observation haki. If you don't concentrate, you will lose him almost immediately. Do you still have time to think? At this time, a hoarse voice sounded again. The sea stone 10 hands suddenly stabbed into Kuzan's body. Vice Admiral Kuzan! Smoker screamed. Being pierced by sea stone, even a natural system would die. But then, he found that Kuzan did not show any pain, but instead used both hands to firmly grasp the sea stone 10 hands. I finally understand why someone invented gloves. Kuzan stared at the black iron mask in front of him, and was not affected by the sea stone. The whole body burst out with amazing 0-degree freezing air, and Kuzan said in an emotionless voice. Ice Age. In the blink of an eye, Smoker was frozen, Sakaski was frozen, the Red Marine was frozen, the demon-killing bullet was frozen. Even the navy waiting for Kuzan and Sakaski to triumph outside the confidential warehouse were all frozen. All frozen. You really used all your strength. Kuzan. Lava emerged from under Sakaski's ice sculpture, and in the blink of an eye, the frozen state was lifted. But the indelible traces of the explosion can be seen on half of his face. Even if he recovers, there will definitely be scars. This man's strength is extraordinary, I must. Before he could finish his words, he was hit hard in the abdomen. What do you have to do? The hoarse laughter came again. At the same time, a shocking explosion exploded in Kuzan's abdomen. Bang! Kuzan's entire chest was exploded and pierced, and ice cubes flew everywhere. And his eyes were still full of disbelief. I should have frozen you. In front of him, there was an ice sculpture, with the sea tower and the 10 hands frozen inside. Won't I let go? Idiot! There was another explosion, and Kuzan was blown away directly, and his body hit the wall heavily. Ling Bai struck with his hand, broke the ice, and took out Halo Shishi. Kuzan regained his body shape, and there were only some minor scratches on his abdomen, but no fundamental damage was done. It seems he doesn't know how to be armed. This is our chance. Sakaski said as half of his body turned into lava. Stop! You must not use your abilities here, it will detonate the magic killing bomb. If we are still timid at this juncture, both of us. No, 3 of us may die. I don't agree. As long as he persists, the generals will arrive soon, and he will be unable to fly. Kuzan advised Sakaski to calm down. Humph, if you don't take action, get out of here. I can handle this guy by myself. After speaking, Sakaski rushed towards Ling Bai directly. Dog bites Gurren. The huge magma vicious dog bit Ling Bai. The sudden rise in temperature in the room immediately melted the ice and snow. Ah! The thought Smoker sneezed and stood there shivering, and the high temperature that followed made him retreat irritably. Although they were both of the natural type, his attacks were completely incomparable to those of the other two. No matter where you dodge next, I will never let you go. Sakaski said gloomily. Although he said nothing about the blast injury on his face, it didn't mean he didn't care. On the contrary, he cared very much, and wanted to cut Ling Bai into pieces with 1,000 knives. However, this time, Ling Bai did not dodge. Using the stick as a sword and swinging the blunt weapon quickly, the canine-toothed red lotus was chopped into dozens of pieces in an instant. What? Sakaski never expected that the opponent would be able to use the 10 hands of Halo Shi to launch a slashing attack. Swordsman! Kuzan was equally surprised. But why would a swordsman choose a blunt instrument as a weapon? This is obviously contradictory. You guys reminded me of something. What? After playing for so long, I still haven't figured out how to escape. Ling Bai said hoarsely. Want to run? It's not that easy. Sakaski fired the lava fist again. But this time, Ling Bai hid. When he reappeared, he was in a room filled with demon-killing bombs. What do you want to do? Kuzan felt extremely unhappy. Ling Bai looked at the demon-slaying bullet and suddenly said. Malin Fando, you probably haven't experienced the demon-slaying order yet. Stop! Smoker spoke out. He guessed what the other party wanted to do. Wait! Kuzan said equally quickly, escape is easy. We can let you go. Kuzan! Sakaski yelled. Shut up! Kuzan glared at Sakaski. Do you want the entire Marineford to be destroyed? Let him go. Damn it! Sakaski glared at Ling Bai fiercely. If glances could kill, Ling Bai would definitely be riddled with holes from his gaze. Even if I let you go today, one day I will find out who you are and kill you. Sakazuki shouted. I think you've got something wrong. Idiots. Suddenly, Ling Bai smiled. Even through the mask, Kuzan and Sakazuki could feel the man smiling. I can go wherever I want, and it has nothing to do with the letting go you talk about. Next. Let's watch a beautiful fireworks together.